So show me what you got, Frank. Don't hold it in, don't blank. You've faced it all, you've held the line. Show me what you got, Frank. Yeah, I still say I'll twist your nips just to see you crack a grin. Same old chaos, same old spark, laughing loud inside the dark. Nothing you can do, I'm gonna find you when you hide out deep inside you. Kick the door and drag you through whatever hell you're walking through. We ain't clean, we ain't saints, carried scars and old complaints. But when the weight comes crashing down, we don't fold, we don't drown. Step by step, no retreat, dust and blood beneath our feet. Call my name, I'll be there every time, everywhere. Show me what you got, Frank. No giving up, no slack. We've gone too far to turn around. Show me what you got, Frank. Hey, Frank. You know the deal. I've got you.
A decent song by Evo Eddie. All right, today, I'm just doing a chill stream, not doing much, right? I wanted to watch these two videos, particularly the first one, Andrew Wilson on trigonometry, right? I like trigonometry. I like the Konstantin Kisin, right? So I figured since I'm watching it, why not watch it with you guys, right? If you want to watch it with me, that'd be awesome. If not, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just watching it. I'm trying to finish this Lego piece, this Lego set, or that I bought, right? Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to finish this Lego piece, so I'm watching this while I'm finishing this Lego set that I have. So figured, why not stream with you guys? Why not check it out? All right, let's just watch this. All right, if you guys want to watch it with me, awesome. If not, all good.
Blunt.
Why do you hate leftists?
They're psychopaths who are going to destroy everything that I care about through suicidal empathy.
Well, Andrew Wilson, welcome to Trigonometry.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Great to have you on. Tell us about you, your background, how you've come to be where you are, and also, some of the things that you've become well known for talking about and debating.
Well, I'm known as maybe the premier blood sport debater on the right-wing side. I debate almost every issue imaginable from a Christian foundational view, including politics. So the way I got in the space was by pure accident. It was during COVID-19. They had shut all the businesses down. I was a robotics mechanic, and I worked in meat plants. And they shut those down in Michigan because the governor at the time, her name is Gretchen, she's still the governor, Gretchen Whitmer. That was part of her whole device for Michigan was shutting everything down. So I was basically furloughed. And when that was happening, I was extremely pissed off. And so what I did was I went on Facebook and other places like this and started arguing with stupid progressives, much like the Coomer Gremlin, who you recently debated, people like that. And some of them actually had little video shows. And so I'd started to ask to come up and talk to them. Hey, why don't you have me up on your little show here? And then I'd go on the show and obliterate them. And after a while, that picked up a little bit of steam. People started putting it on YouTube. And then the content became popularized. And here I am. Never thought in a million years I'd be an entertainer, and I never thought in a million years that I would be engaged in as many high-profile debates as I have been.
And why do you enjoy doing this? Because a lot of people think it's
because I hate
a weird thing to do.
So, I mean, just like, if you want me to be blunt.
Why do you hate leftists?
Because they're psychopaths who are going to destroy everything that I care about through suicidal empathy.
Do you mean progressives or?
Yeah, I hate leftists. I mean, and I kind of include them in all and everything, right? Leftists, Democrats, progressives, you want to say, all of them. I kind of include them all in the same mindset. So I really do hate them. Auntie Joy Toy, and I'm going to lamb tea. And talking to my girlfriend too. I'm talking to my girlfriend. So, she's. Yeah, I'm going to lamb tea and lamb stream. I'm Lego. Ikoy theme, and I'm noodle. Huh?
Do you mean leftists?
Both.
Like the entire left?
I consider the delineation of the threshold minute.
Because?
Because when you really get into the granularity, it's all about ethics, and they don't have any.
Oh, damn, yeah.
And so, because there's no ethical foundation, all you're talking about is degrees of psychopathy.
What about people who just want like a little bit more wealth redistribution, but generally they love America? I mean, those people, they are decreasing in percentage on the left, but they do exist, right?
Why do they want it?
Because they think they have a different vision to the right of human nature, and they think that a lot of things that happen to people in life are partly about luck and structures and stuff like that. So they think that, they think the right massively overestimates the consequences of agency. So the idea that sometimes, the caricature of the right would be, well, everyone gets what they deserve because it's a matter of your hard work and talent and application and whatever. And the left, the sensible left, I think, says, well, sure, but luck is a big part of it. There, by the grace of God, go we. Therefore, if someone is struggling.
But here's the thing: you're not old luck. You're not old luck. Luck is not something that you're old. This is the thing where this is why I kind of hate the left, right? Progressive Democrats, where they want to fight against reality, right? Like, you know what? Luck? No. We need to even it out. We need to try to change it up. The world's unfair. Plain and simple. The world is unfair. This is why I just because it just makes you delusional. I always like to point out, like I said this before, I point out delusions, hypocrisies, insanities, any kind of chaos and stuff like that. You're being delusional.
Not everyone is struggling because they didn't put in the effort. Sometimes shit happens, people get sick, accidents happen, whatever. So we should look after people a little bit more than the people who want the lowest taxes possible. That would be the Steelman argument, I think.
Okay, so that makes sense. So the idea here is social safety nets, right?
Right.
Okay, so how come those aren't voluntary?
Well, probably because you can't achieve the level of redistribution you want without applying some level of force.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because the entire idea of progressive liberalism is supposed to be voluntarism, and that the left-wing government does not force you or compel you to do anything.
No, but that's bullshit.
But that's the promise.
No, the point of government is to make people do shit they don't want to do.
Completely agree. But the promise of the leftists, the promise of the progressive, the reason they demand that we have a secular government and we can't move towards Christian ethics or Christian nationalism is because secularists are going to do what's fair. And what's fair is you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. We're not going to force you to do anything. The evil Christian nationalists will. But here you just laid out a case for how it is that they're compelling me against my will to do various things.
Well, right. I mean, any government is about the thing that really defines a state is the legalized use of force. It's all about the
totally
use of
agree.
Force, right?
That's what the state is.
Yeah, of course. But see, I think if we want to have a discussion about progressives being idiots, like we're going to be on the same page with that one. But we were talking about distinction between the center left, I guess, and the progressives. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, isn't there quite a lot of reasonable people on the center left who would agree with us that the state is about shaping human behavior and making people do stuff, but what they want is well motivated and actually based on some rationale that we might agree or disagree, but is kind of logical, which is about a higher level of I don't believe in zero taxes and no government redistribution at all personally, right? So therefore, it's just a matter of degrees. And it's about, is it, 5% taxes or, 20% taxes? But once you start getting into the high 80s, that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like do you see what I'm getting at? So that's where I think sometimes in these arguments, the existence of the reasonable center right and the reasonable center left gets lost because we're constantly arguing with the extremes of the other side.
Well,
is that fair?
Yeah, I guess, but maybe we can dive into semantics a
Sure,
bit.
if you want.
Okay, so when you say right or left, you agree with me that that's dialectical?
What do you mean by dialectical?
Like...
They're opposites of each other, you mean?
Well, not just that, but when we view politics in the paradigm in the United States, we view it through a dialectic that is dual. It's left, it's right. So even you said center left, that's plays within a dialectic, right? Yes, there's a center, but it's still left or right. Right? So
well, there is it gets more, I don't mean to be pedantic either, but this is where it gets more difficult because someone could actually be in the center, meaning they have some center-right opinions and some center-left opinions that don't neatly align with either party. And I think the existence of those people is probably quite underestimated, even in a country as polarized as this one, just from talking to people.
Maybe.
Yeah, but dialectic, I think I agree with.
Yeah, so there's a dialectic. So when we say left, what's the referent? And when we say right, what's the referent? Like, what are we referencing here?
Well, the position relative to the center.
Sure, maybe, but I mean, what is left and what is right politically? Is it social issues? Is it taxes? Is it a mixture of both?
Mixture of both.
Mixture of both. Okay,
Right.
So I think that we can break it down further into pillars. So I think that these are philosophical positions, and people just don't realize it. When you're arguing with a guy like Destiny, the reason he's very frustrating for you to debate with. The reason that he wanted to bog things down into things like the most ridiculous thing in the world, though it's unprecedented. Everything's unprecedented. That's unprecedented, right? The whole idea there, and you pointed this out rightly, is, well, I guess words don't mean anything, right? We just use unprecedented, I guess, when we mean new.
I love it that he wanted to point that out. I love it that he wanted to point out the flaws of what Destiny's debate. I thought that was really good, and I knew that he would do that. Or I wouldn't be surprised they would do that.
When we get down to the core, the pillar that holds up the belief of Destiny, what is it? What is the pillars that hold up the left? What is the philosophical underpinnings?
I don't know in his case. I think in his case, actually the philosophical underpinning is people who don't agree with him are bad people and therefore they need to be destroyed by any means necessary. I think that's it. So it's about power, really.
Well, I think the idea... The philosophical underpinnings operate from the left-right dialectic. The left-wing pillar is based around anti-realism, anti-moralism. So that's why you end up with postmodernism and many of these other philosophies which come from left-wing liberalism. Those aren't coming from right-wingers. Those are coming from left-wingers. Right-wingers are the reason that they're so much more associated with things like traditionalism, or things like religion, this kind of thing, is because they view society as being duty-bound, and progressives view everything through the prism of rights. So I have a right to do this, I have a right to do this, I have a right to do that, and the right is saying you have a duty to do this, you have a duty to do that, you have a duty. So this is where that dialectic really clashes. From Destiny's standpoint, there's no such thing as a moral fact. None. They don't exist. Everything is dependent upon stance. So if that's the case, you can't actually do anything immoral, which is why he does so many things which are immoral, right? Because from his perspective, it's just dependent on stance. The right is saying there's universality with morality. It's not just stance dependent, it's stance independent. The reason that they get so upset with the left is because they perceive them as doing things which are horrendously immoral. But from the left stance, they're like, well, but it's all stance dependent, so I can't be doing anything immoral. And that's why the underpinnings for the kind of like philosophical pillars, they don't align, and why we're constantly clashing. The right considers these people complete immoral degenerates, and from their view, they are. The left, on the other hand, sees that as being totalitarian and evil, and that they're there to control, destroy, oppress. Because from their view, what could they be doing immoral if everything which is moral is dependent on their own stance.
Right. Which I think is an accurate description of what happens when the right looks at the extremes of the left and the left looks at the extremes of the right. But what I'm trying to get in with you, first of all, because it's interesting to me, because our country, hard as it is to believe, if you look at social media, is not nearly as divided as the US, right? Like the binariness of the US is kind of weird for us a little bit, coming from the UK.
But you've seen the results in the UK, okay, where everyone is following, honestly, leftist viewpoints. The whole, I mean, maybe not everyone, but I know the government itself is purely leftist. It's purely liberal, purely progressive. So maybe the people are different, but I mean, as politics goes, it's one way.
Well, I guess to me, it's always weird when people, well, I was going to say acknowledge, but I don't want to impose my view because, you know, Americans know their country better than I do. It's weird to me how little people give faith to the other side. And I see this on the left and I see this on the right. Whereas my model for the world is there's like really good people within the 80% middle, and then there's pretty out there people on the extremes. And what we see on the internet is those people arguing and pretending they represent the entire movement. And then the other side's incentivized to argue as if they represent the entire movement as well. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Right.
Sure. I understand what you're saying, and that sells, right? It sells to be on that extremist end.
Right.
That's what makes it fun. It makes it fun to watch people who come in and they say ridiculous, over the top things, and then everyone's arguing, right? That's part of human nature. They want the fun. However, I do think that people are more divided than you think. I think that there's the way that we operate in public in survival mode. We'll be pretty nice to each other. Good morning. How are you? No one's going to like run you off the road because you're a Democrat. They might run you off the road if you're a Trump supporter and you have that stick. But for the most part, we'll treat each other fairly well. But when you start to get to the underpinnings of what people actually believe, there's a lot more hatred here than you think on both sides. And it's even from the center. It becomes apparent once you start to get to the underpinnings of the pillars which hold up people's beliefs.
Do you think that's kind of why there used to be a rule that you don't talk about religion and politics at the table? Because when you start digging, like if you really pursue people's beliefs to the very ends of the earth, you do find out like people do fundamentally disagree because they have a different philosophical view. But if we don't constantly talk about this stuff, it's actually easier to get on with each other.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's interesting.
Well, that used to be a thing in the workplace, and it used to be a thing like you said, around the dinner table with family. You call your family in, and it's like, hey, we're all going to have dinner. We're not talking politics. We're not talking about sex. We're not talking, right? These are the divisive issues, right? Love, sex, politics. And of course, that's what everybody's talking about all the time now. But with the internet, this was bound to happen. Now you can have ideologies which are exported and imported. And they can be exported and imported quickly. And so because of that, you can have, whole swaths of a population begin to move towards an ideology which they never would have before because there was no way to basically deliver it. But now there is. And so now it's a race for power. It's made the best ideology win. And from my view, if it's not Christians who win it, then it's going to be somebody else who wins it. And Christians going to be ruled by whoever that is. Or whatever ideology that is. But if you think that I'm wrong, explain Hassan Piker, explain Vosh, explain the rise of communism in the United States and the brand new communist lens in which many leftist progressives are now looking. These are the most popular streamers. Well, that ideology was all but dead, but now it's reemergent through the technology of the internet and introduced to a whole new generation as being edgy and countercultural, just like it was the first time.
Do you not think that the reason that we have seen this resurgence of communism as someone who comes from a country who sadly embraced it?
Britain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's not. We are
I shouldn't laugh at
embracing.
my own joke, but it was a good one.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we are embracing it, which is Venezuela. Do you not just simply think that people grasp for anything when things are getting particularly difficult?
You mean for any type of ideology?
Yeah.
Sure, but what's difficult here?
Well, the gap between rich and poor is ever widening.
But you have a problem there, right? That's true. But people are still getting richer than they've ever been. It's like when I think of a gap between rich people and poor people, if we go back 500 years or 1,000 years, The difference was you lived in a dung heap and this guy lived in a castle. Now the difference is this guy lives in a castle and you live in a 3-bedroom apartment. It's like, it is true that the guy living in the castle is richer than the guy in the castle has ever been. But the reason you're not in a dung heap is because the poor are also richer than they've ever been. And so it's scalable. It's a matter, it's a matter of scalability. But show me in the fattest country in the world, where's all the starving people? Where are they?
But it's all understood within context, isn't it, Andrew? It's comparisons. So people will go online, they will look at the...
Yeah, but who are you comparing yourself to? The rich, right? It's like, this is the problem where it's like, when you compare yourself to a king, does that seem to make sense? It's just that at the end of the, this is the problem I have with the left. You are unrealistic. Not everyone is going to be a king, right? Not everyone's going to be a king. Not everyone is going to be the pauper, right? Not everyone is going to be the poor. It's just not going to happen. It's just not how life works. It really isn't. So it's just ridiculous when it's true that we are wealthier than we ever been. Even the poorest of our poor is wealthier than anyone has ever been throughout history. We constantly want more. It's like that. That's the thing where, and it's like, wanting more is fine. But the problem is that, we want more with very little work. That's my problem. Okay. We want more with very little actual effort. That's the problem I have.
Their life, they will see that they don't have a lot of money. Somebody else is doing very well. Things like, for instance, a housing crisis, particularly in cities like New York, LA, etc.
Yeah, so this is a strict materialist view. The thing is like, I don't know when this shift happened to strict materialism, but this seems to be part of a new conversation which people want to have. And again, that's part of what communism is. The lens of communism is strictly materialist. There is no spiritualism. Communists kill anybody who's religious because that affects a materialist view. It's an oppressor-oppressed class. So if you're looking through everything from a materialist view, you can always find an oppressor class. There'll always be people who have more than other people do. It's one of the big faults with communism. You can never reach this stateless utopia. But as far as that goes, when I think historically, the endless suffering that happened to people inside of nation states, inside of city states, inside of places like that, in comparison to what you see in modern Western democracies, it's like, if these people had to deal with that in any capacity, they would, you just fall over dead. It was miserable. It was literally misery. Where is all of that? I mean, the West conquered that. Industrialization conquered that. The starvation's gone. Where is it? I've heard liberals, they've said to me, there's people starving right now. Where? In my nation? Where? I'll go feed them right now. Guarantee you I'll have a meal arranged by this afternoon if you could show me a person who's actually starving in the United States. They can't, because they're not. We've conquered it. These are conquered issues. So what are you bitching of? Are you just bitching that this guy makes way more money than this guy? It's like, what's the complaint? That's achievable. That sort of dream's achievable now to people. That never used to be possible.
I travel a lot, and until recently, every trip started the same way, standing in an...
Also plays into the fact that this generation, particularly, for example, in the UK, is going to be the first generation to not do as well as their parents. And the things that they were promised, you go to college, you get a good job, you're going to be able...
Is that whose fault is that? Let me say this, right? I think it's a widespread widespread thing where it's a lot of different people's faults, right? I don't disagree that it's a bunch of different people's faults. Let's say I think, poorer than ever before. It's like, but you gotta think of this. We have people more free than ever before. So people are choosing instead of going into a trade where you have money, you're building wealth right away, which past generations have, right? Past generations didn't just go straight to school. They didn't go straight to college. If they couldn't become, I don't know, engineers, doctors, whatever, lawyers, something substantial, they will go to trades, make money right away. People who go straight into trades, they actually do pretty well off. They actually they can become wealthier than their parents, right? They can become wealthier than their parents. They can afford housing, all these stuff, just like their parents. It is kids who's going, oh, I'm going to college to liberal arts, social media marketing, I don't know, graphic designs, anything, right? Theater art, a theater kids, right? Education, music education. Yeah, no duh that you're doing worse than your parents who, one, didn't have debt, right? They weren't going into adulthood with debt, and two, they were already making money, right? They were already building their wealth. So there's a clear difference in mindset, okay? Yes, maybe, I don't know, parents didn't prepare their kids well enough, but still, you got to take some accountability.
To have a house, a family. For a lot of these people, they come out and they've graduated college, they're in enormous amounts of debt, and they're looking and they're seeing, well, the life that my parents had, I am not going to have. And I think there's a great deal of anger, resentment and frustration because of that. And I think people reach for an ideology such as communism in the desperate hope that it's going to somehow make everything better. I don't agree with it, but I think that's the argument.
Well, I think it's more complex than that.
So maybe we're having this conversation the wrong way around. Why do you think there's been rise of radical leftism and particularly the appeal of communism now, as you do see with some young?
I'm trying to do this Lego set, right? Like I said, this Lego bear, and I haven't done doing Legos in a long ass time, and it's like when pretty much everything is the same color, it's hard to distinguish necessarily the difference, right? So I was looking for a piece, and I'm constantly looking, keep on looking, and it's like, I couldn't find it, but it's right in the center. I'm like, God dang.
Audience fans.
Because of the moral loading of the term Nazi, fascist, and other things like this, it's pure panic mongering. The idea is that you need to move towards this shielding ideology because the Nazis are coming, the stormtroopers are coming.
Oh, so you mean since 2016, basically? I mean, they did it before as well, but the far left has been calling the right Nazis, and you think people are going for communism because it's the ideology that can protect you against that? That's
communism, socialism. These are so it's a winner takes all. Like I said, it's a race to power for which ideology gets power. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be the Christian nationalists? Is it going to be the socialists? Is it going to be guys in New York like Mamdi or Mamadi? What is his name?
Mamdani. Yeah.
It's communist Mamdani.
Yeah.
Who gets it? Which ideology gets it? I mean, right now, the ideology which has been kind of traditionally getting it is the status quo ideology. Well, that's changing. That's been changing since Trump. I don't know who our future presidents are going to be, but they're not going to have the same ideologies that they held for the last 40 or 50 years. That's not where we're heading. So which ideology gets it?
But that doesn't, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, except the one thing we started this with, which is the appeal of communism is to push back against the Nazis, right? But why wouldn't you just, I don't know, why wouldn't it just, the ideology be we're against Nazism or we're for liberal democracy?
But that's exactly how it's pushed. What do the Antifa, anti-fascist people in both our nations say? They say just that. This is about our republic.
But
this
they
is
are
about
communists.
Our democracy.
But
Yes, they are.
Right.
But this is about our democracy. This is about our freedom of speech, our freedom of assembly. This is about stopping Nazis and stopping fascists and stopping or allowing for due process. They literally market it the exact way you just said. So when you say, why don't they say that we're just anti-Nazi and pro-democracy or pro-republicanism? Well, that's exactly how they market it.
No, because I guess the reason I'm saying is I would say I am anti-Nazi and pro-democracy, right? And I am. I'm also not a communist. So why is communism the appealing version of those statements?
Well, this is a worldview issue. So do you think a Nazi is the same thing a leftist thinks a Nazi is?
No,
Because a leftist thinks you're a Nazi.
Well, I know what words mean.
Right.
But this is the problem is, like, I know what words mean, right? So I know that Nazis exist. And by the way, there are some Nazis on the right, including in the US, and you can see them, right? But I also know what a Nazi is, and therefore someone who has right-wing or centrist opinions like me is not a Nazi.
But words do mean different things depending on worldview. They do, actually.
If you are a postmodernist, they do,
Not
right?
just a postmodernist. So if you look at definitions of words, you agree they have multitudes of definitions, right? Well, those are applying often to the distinctions in worldview. When I say spiritual as a Christian, I'm looking at that from a Christian view, right?
Sure.
If you say spiritual as a Buddhist, are we saying the same thing?
I actually think in a way you probably are, but the structure that underpins that is different. But you're trying to point at the same thing, which is whatever it is that is greater than human beings somewhere. And I'm pointing to the sky because that's kind of.
But the way we view epistemology, ontology, cosmology, everything is going to be completely different.
Right.
So when we say that word, we may be pointing to a concept which is similar, but we're actually pointing at something which is different.
But what progressives do, and this is really worth discussing, I think, is what they do is if I say the word cabbage, there's 100 types of cabbage, but you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And what a progressive will do in a debate, as you referenced, is they'll pretend they don't know what a cabbage is.
Yeah, that's equivocation.
Right.
So the fallacy, debating with progressives, I've been doing it for years and years. The number one fallacy run into with them, fallacious form of argumentation, is equivocation. They use the ambiguity of a word to switch between its meaning depending on which one serves them best at the time.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to pin them down on semantics immediately, because if you don't, they'll spend an entire debate session
And this is, Andrew does that. Andrew does that where, this is why he always say, what do you mean this? What do you mean that? Right? Because he knows the tactics of the left where they will try to, change up certain meanings. I definitely agree with how he does it.
conversation using equivocation to move between meanings in an ambiguous way so that they never really have to give an accounting for the things that they actually think because those things are abhorrent. I do agree with that. I also understand, though, that meanings of words are going to change with worldview. From the progressive worldview, you are a Nazi. And I wish
Because
more people,
I don't agree with them.
I wish more people would accept, well, it's not just because you don't agree with them. It's because from that frame, from that worldview, right, they're going to perceive you as being a white nationalist. You're a person who thinks that white people are above other people.
Why?
Because you're arguing against mass migration. And the only reason you would do that is because you want to see more white people.
But I'm an immigrant myself.
Doesn't matter.
Well, but no, it does matter, though, because that doesn't make any logical sense.
Doesn't have to. Worldviews don't have to make logical sense, but they are the prism in which we interpret the world. And so every debate that you have and every conversation you have, I wish more people would go in them understanding this concept. Worldview is what shapes your interpretation of all of reality around you. It shapes the meaning of words, how you interpret them, what people mean by the things they say and what they don't mean by the things they say. The reason I think I got very popular on the right is because one of the things I've always done is sit down and make my opposition actually explain what they mean and why they mean it before I will ever even dive into a conversation with them. And the reason for that is because I want to know what their worldview is. What is it that you're interpreting different here than me? And that's where you start to actually have a debate about. So debates are about worldviews. Conversations are about worldviews, right? If we have completely different understandings of our interpretation, how do we even speak?
But there's also a level of deception that we're talking about here, because if you take an ideology like Nazism, there's tenets to it.
Sure.
And if you then go, well, you're a Nazi, but then you don't obey or follow any of the tenets, then that is fundamentally illogical.
I've had multiple debates with people on whether or not Donald Trump's a fascist, okay? From their worldview. See, it's simple. All you have to do is you take the historic prism of what fascism is. They'll admit, clearly he doesn't meet that. But he meets certain tenets, which we can say have overlap with fascism enough that they reach like a fascist minimum. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, it just means that interpretively, from their kind of stance-dependent view, right? Which means I made it up. This arbitrary metric, he meets it, therefore he is it. Now,
this is the problem with a lot of leftist point of views, okay? Because they don't realize, oh, Trump is starting a war, but technically, right? I believe, I mean, I forgot the actual law and stuff, but he has a 60 to 90-day window to, yes, he can start a war, right? He can do, he's the chief, chief of the military. So he's the leader of the military. He can start a war, right? But he has 60 to 90 days to do what he has to do. So it's within his power. Now, whether he uses it or not, it's within his power to say that, oh, Trump abuses his power because, he started a war in Iran. Yeah, well, that's his power. Don't give our president that power and then complain that he uses that power, okay? That's the sheer stupidity of so many people who's like, oh, Trump is a fascist, all this stuff because he abuses power. What? It's like when you ask them what they abuse his power, okay? Oh, he sent ICE to places like Minnesota. Well, that's within his power. It's within his power to send troops to certain states, certain cities. It's within his power to do so. I mean, don't give him that power and then say that he's abusing it.
Now, unless you have some grounding which is objective, how do you argue with that? Well, you really can't, because what most political debating is it's taking a fact and then it's arguing about your feelings over that fact. That's 90% of what a political debate is. Here's a fact, and now let's argue our vibes. So unless there's some objective grounding that you have to tell them that they're wrong, right? It's actually very difficult to get the upper hand in a vibes debate, isn't it? So you really have to bring it back to not just facts, but foundation. They don't have any. This is why I hate them, because they're morally corrupt, ambiguous, no morality having scumbags. And that's what they want to do. They want to take a fact and then argue their vibes about the fact. But when you get to their foundations, what is their foundation? They don't have any. Their entire foundation is there are no moral facts. So if that's the case, how can you do anything immoral if there's no moral facts? How? You can't. You can't ever do anything immoral if you don't believe there's no moral facts.
Well, but they believe that we are with all our different perspectives, because we have different perspectives on things, you and I, certainly. They believe that we are immoral. So they must have some kind of morality. It's just
stance-dependent morality.
Meaning, what's the difference between that and what your morality? Because you would say your morality comes from God or the Bible, or
sure. There's two kinds of foundations for how it is that you can interpret morality. There may be more, but there's usually going to be two. It's is morality real or not? If it's not real, then you're an anti-realist, let's say. If it is real, then you're not. When I say real here, I'm saying this is a universal fact, that this is a moral fact. Now, the left and progressives and atheists and secularists, they don't generally believe in those moral facts. They think that morality is a social construction that we make up, and it's societally dependent. There is no overarching like moral facts. The religious say that there are, that God gave us moral facts, and these are the moral ways in which you have to live your life. And so they're willing to enforce that. They're willing to enforce those moral facts, because for them not to do that is immoral, right? Allowing my society to run around and do immoral things, obviously I want to curtail that. The other side thinks that that's totalitarian, though, right? That's the worldview divide. So the question is, how can you tell a person, how do you tell Destiny that it's immoral that he sucked 50 dicks? How do you do that? If it's the case that that's not a moral fact. How? Well, you can't. And that's where they live. That's
well, his sucking of dicks is irrelevant to me personally. He's perfectly entitled to suck as many dicks as he wants. I encourage him to do more.
Yeah, but why? Why is it that this idea of like OnlyFans hookers and homosexual marriage and stuff like this, why is that stuff we have to deal with again? Like why?
Why isn't it?
Well, see what I mean though? Like even that question, why isn't it? It's like, that's not giving an accounting for a worldview. That's asking me to give an accounting for a worldview.
Yeah.
But the thing
But
is,
you're insisting that there is a worldview that's correct.
Sure.
Right? And therefore it's up to you to articulate why it is correct.
Sure. But when you say, why isn't it?
It's a genuine question. I'm trying to probe your worldview, that's all.
And I'm gonna walk you through it. If there are no moral facts, because I said so, that's why. And that's the failure of left-wing and progressive anti-realists. If there are no moral facts, and you ask me why it is that I should enforce my worldview, because I fucking want to. And there's no way for you to ever object against that. Any objection you have, which is stance dependent, which it will be, this is going to be the same objection that I give you, which is stance dependent. So which one of us is right?
Well, that's why we have elections, so that is adjudicated and then legislated on, right? Because ultimately there's philosophy and then there's politics, right? So you might philosophically believe that homosexuality is wrong, but at the level of society, we can have a vote and it may turn out that the majority of the country doesn't agree with you.
But do you agree with me that your morality cannot come from the majority? Because if it does, all you're doing is doing the exact same thing. You're just saying, hey, now the majority says there are no moral facts, or only moral facts come from the majority.
Well, sure.
If that was the case, then we could have slavery, and that would be moral simply because the majority said it was.
And at one point it was, right?
And
those people believed in God way more than we do.
Well, yes.
They did, right?
This is true, but the thing is like, that's the idea of presentism. The whole world always believed in that. Just like the whole world usually didn't entertain things like race mixing, though they had no conceptualization of race. They thought of things in a tribal way. Yeah. But they didn't do that either. Like, that was one of the things, the United States always gets shit because in the 20s, 30s, 40s, especially heading into World War II, post World War I, well, there was a lot of segregation with black people. Well, that was global though. That was global. Everyone was racist then, like everybody.
Sure.
And so you're looking at this through the prism of presentism, and the reason that that's kind of
come back to the destiny sucking dicks point because it's important, obviously, right?
I'm pretty sure
why is it that
I'm pretty sure after his debate with Destiny, he's not the biggest fan of Destiny. So
you think he shouldn't suck dicks
because I said so. And if you're
but that's fair enough.
Right.
But then the question is, are you seeking to convert your philosophical view into political reality?
Why shouldn't I?
I suppose that's a fair question, actually. Yeah.
Why shouldn't I?
Well, I guess it's a question of what happens when the majority of the public vote for somebody who doesn't agree with
Now we're just outsourcing our morality again to the populace.
But see, there's laws that I don't agree with.
Right.
And there's laws that don't exist that I think should exist. But I accept that the majority of the country in which I live doesn't agree with me. And that is a kind of compromise we all have to make at some level, right?
Why do we have to make that compromise?
Because we want to live in the society of other people who have different views.
But
right
now we're moving into the right reduction, and so I guess maybe this is where I wanted to get to in the conversation. If there aren't any moral facts, and I just say because I said so, and you say, well, that's fair enough, right? Because that's all all of us are just doing because I said so, I guess.
All of us are entitled to a view.
Yeah, I don't want democracy because I said so. I want fascism because I said so. I want a new Hitler because I said so, right? Let's say that. If you can't point at that and say that that's wrong, right? There's some objective appeal to a standard for why that's really immoral and you shouldn't do it, then what happens is erosion. And the reason that erosion happens is because everything becomes permitted. So an example of this, I was told with gay marriage that it's no big deal. It's just like heterosexual people getting married. Well, okay, what's the argument against 3 men or 4 men getting married and then adopting a child? There really isn't one. You can't really be consistent and be against that. Like, where's the consistency issue? You can say, well, it's the outcomes. It's like, well, can you prove the outcomes will always be bad? No? Or can you prove that if there's 2 straight
Albie,
people
what
who
is
are
up, my brother?
heterosexuals who are from vastly different backgrounds?
Yeah, I'm live, right? 17 months. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. The bell. I hope you heard that. That's the bell right there, right? Thank you, my brother. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. Yeah, I mean, I'm just chilling, right? I'm just building a Lego piece and watching Andrew Wilson's interview on trigonometry, right? I'm not doing much, right? it's a Sunday. I ain't doing much, so I figured, you know what? I'm gonna watch this video anyway, and I was gonna do this Lego piece. I gotta finish this Lego piece anyway for myself. So I figured, why not? Right? Why not hang out with any buddies, right? Any brothers, right? That ain't doing much. So if you ain't doing much, let's chill. Let's chill out, right? Let's watch this together and just chill. I love you, my brother. Thank you for all the support, right? You are definitely one of my OGs, so I humbly thank you for all the love and support you show me for such a long time. So thank you, my brother.
Rounds, they could have really bad outcomes statistically too. We wouldn't prevent them from having a kid. It's like, what's stopping 10 men from getting married and adopting a kid? Nothing. Nothing's preventing that. And by the way, it's happening now. Now you see men getting married in 3s and 4s. And you see polygamy coming back in a big way. You see birth rate collapses. Like, these are real issues in society. And they come,
I mean, in fairness, I don't think birth rate collapses are to do with 10 men getting married to each other, right?
No, it has to do, but it has to do with another issue,
Okay.
which is women. If you want to get women pregnant, you have a small window.
I'm running Age of the Samurai for the 4th time. I love it, right? That's awesome. This is like my brother's Sunday, right? We're just chilling. We're just doing a bunch of geeky shit and just hanging out. I love it. I love it.
And it's best to do it in their 20s. And what we do is we tell women to defer their best childbearing years to go to college during those years, which is insane. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know why you would take the opposite sex who has the most limited window for childbirth for healthy babies and tell them to squander all of that. Especially because they end up at college running, the cock carousel often and things like this. And it's like, it's just not good for society. But kind of back to what I was saying, when we're getting to the idea of moral facts, this erosion always begins with the idea of, well, you can't really make a case, like, I don't believe in your stupid objective morals. I don't believe in any of this. And so you can't really tell me that being a hooker is wrong. You can't really tell me doing this is wrong. You can't really tell me doing that is wrong. And so if you come to me and you say gays should be allowed to get married, and I just ask you back, why can't 3 of them get married? What's your answer to that? What is it?
I have people in my life who depend on me. Most of you listening do too. And if you're honest,
What's your answer to that? What is it?
I don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. So what's preventing it? Nothing. And so then you see society become more and more and more absurd over time.
Why is it important? What happens when 3 gays get married? Like,
well, individually, perhaps nothing, right? Like on an isolated, like what happens when one Muslim gets imported to the UK?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it depends what he does, but yeah.
Exactly. But now what happens when 50,000 of them get imported to the UK? Well, now something. And it's the same thing when it comes to the importance of moral character inside of a nation is the exact same way. Well, what happens, it doesn't matter.
To clarify for me, Andrew, so when you have, we have, I think, 4 million Muslims in the UK, overwhelming majority are perfectly good people, but when you have a large Muslim population, what we've discovered is you have a smaller percentage of extremists and Islamists, right? What happens when gays get married? What is the Islamist version of homosexuality?
Yeah, so what happens is, if you're going to say 3 men can get married, then you need to be able to say 1 man can marry 3 women.
Why?
Because tell me what argument could you possibly have against it if you allow one and not the other? What?
I suppose if you start unpicking laws like that, you probably unpick most laws, right?
Yeah.
On that basis.
It would erode the moral character of the very thing you're trying to preserve, which is your culture. But your whole culture is founded on Christian ethics. And so if you say, when you ask individually, what's wrong with 3 guys getting married? Maybe I could say, maybe the effect is so minimalistic, who cares, right? But that's not the point. The point is that if you let 3 men get married, then you have to let 1 man marry 3 women. Why wouldn't you? What would be the consistent argument between the two?
That's a pain in the ass, man.
Yeah.
Having 3 wives.
Maybe, but the thing is like,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, how would polygamy?
So what's your answer to all those questions? Your answer is God said this is right, this is wrong, therefore that's how we know what's right and wrong, basically. Was that fair?
I would say something more important, which is that Christian ethics, even if you don't believe it, let's say I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in any of that nonsense. What you should believe, though, is in outcomes. And the outcomes of Christian ethics, even on secular society, are the best outcomes. So if that's the case I would make for why I think Christians should be in charge of basically everything, is that the outcomes are still going to be best for even the people who aren't Christians. Now, maybe they don't like that, but so what? I don't like their view either. And I think Christians should be in charge, and they have no objection because they have no moral facts. So who cares? It comes down to, like you said, at the
I've said this before. I'm not religious. I'm definitely not religious at all. But I mean, I don't think that's right. Yeah, I'm not religious. I'm not religious at all. But I'd rather live in a predominantly Christian nation, a predominantly white nation. You could say both, right? Than any other nation, right? Because of what results it produced, right? The results that, let's say, a predominantly white nation or predominantly Christian nation, what has it produced? Guess what? The most immigrated, right, moved into nations in this world are either white nations or predominantly Christian nations. No one is clamoring to immigrate to China, to any of the Middle Eastern country, to India, to, I don't know, wherever else, any country in Brazil, any country in Africa. No one is, like, you got everything, right? Not even black people who hate America, right? Who supposedly hate America so much, who complain so much about America. They're not desiring to, let's say, back to Africa. They're not. They're not clamoring, oh, you know what? I need to go back to the motherland. I hate America. It's oppressive. It's the oppression they do. It's racist, all this stuff. I need to go back to Africa. Okay? Hell, we have Africans still wanting to go to any of these other predominantly white nations, predominantly Christian nations. Even though they said, oh, you know what? Oh, colonialism is so terrible, right? So, like, you get out, leave our country. But you know what? You don't want any of the white nations to colonize your nation. So you would leave your nation to go to a predominantly white nation. Yeah, I just find it idiotic in my opinion. Okay, now, like I said, I'm not white, nor am I Christian, and I'm not religious, right? I'm not religious at all. But I'd rather be in a white and or Christian nation than any other country in this world. So,
very beginning of the conversation, we'll circle it all the way back. Comes down to who has the force. Well, it's going to be the ideology in charge who has the force. So is it going to be mine, or is it going to be yours? Is it going to be the commies? Who's it going to be? And that's what I think the state of actual world affairs and politics is now. It's like a race to the top. Who gets there first? I don't know if it's depressing. Like it's almost like may the best man win, right? May the best ideology win. I don't know if it's depressing.
Do you not think all government is fundamentally, even in dictatorships, is about power sharing? What you're talking about is dominance by one group over everybody else because we've got a better view, right? Yeah. That's what's depressing to me.
Why is that depressing?
Because, like I say, in most societies, there's a recognition. It might be tribal societies. There's the Pashtuns and the blah, blah, blahs, right? The countries that do well are the countries where those different interests are regulated through some kind of peacemaking mechanism at the level of politics. That's what politics is.
Lord, what is up? China has better outcomes. Therefore, the CN should rule. I mean, does it? I don't know. It's kind of like, is that reality? I mean, is the majority of people in China living a good life? I don't know. That could be questionable, okay? One, China is a huge ass nation, right? I mean, like, their population is crazy. Now, if you want to use the outcomes of, big cities, I think it's, there might be the flaws of your logic there. Okay. I'm not using just the outcome of, the big cities of America. I'm not. Even the smaller states, even the smaller cities, they have a relatively better life with, all the amenities, whatever. than, let's say, the poorest of someone in China. Okay, so because you gotta compare, right? Our rich to their rich, our poor to their poor. Who, So I mean, if again, and who's clamoring to immigrate to China? China doesn't even allow that. Okay, China wouldn't even allow a mass immigration of, let's say, Africans, Black Americans, whatever. They wouldn't. They're very homogeneous, right?
For really, right? Whereas the country,
it doesn't need to be exclusionary though. Just because one particular ideology holds the brackets of most of the power doesn't mean that it has to be exclusive or that it can't in some way accommodate other sections of society.
Well, how are you going to accommodate the population of San Francisco when you're in charge?
Well, I mean, tell me, how would San Francisco die off if you stop letting gays get married there? It's not going to.
I mean, that's all they do, from what I could tell when we were in San Francisco.
They don't get married there. They just do a lot of gay shit there, right? But they're not. They're not.
I didn't observe that directly.
Yeah, but marriage is not the big thing in San Francisco. But look,
you see what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
But I can point to
because you would outlaw homosexuality. I'm guessing.
Sure. Well, okay. I would outlaw homosexual marriage.
But not But isn't homosexuality wrong also?
Sure, it's immoral.
So
but
why wouldn't you outlaw?
You don't need to necessarily always place a law in against something which is immoral. It's not always conducive to the society to do that.
That's fair.
So, for instance, I would say for homosexuality, you're not going to jail, right? None of this type of thing. But there doesn't need to be any glorification, right? You're not going to get married. Nobody's going to bust in your bedroom and tell you what's what, right? But there's not going to be any rainbow flags in the White House either. There's not going to be any pro-gay government propaganda anywhere.
Does that not go against the First Amendment?
I kind of agree with that. I'm sorry. I said this before. It's an example I use. I've been using often. Why is it that the alphabet community has more representation than the Asian community? Why? Why do they have even more political power than the Asian community? It's just that, and they're a smaller population than the Asian community. It's like, no, because it's like, I think it's not political power. They have a lot of social power. That's the thing with the alphabet community. They have an extreme amount of social power. That is why, to be honest, that makes them dangerous. I think that makes them dangerous because they can push their ideology. So it's more like you don't need to be. I'm sorry, you don't need to be represented. I'm not saying you live the life you want to live, but why the hell should you be a part of government? Why the hell should I see every form of entertainment, movies, TVs, magazines, comic books, I don't know, anything else, right? Has to have someone from the alphabet community. Why? You should, I'm sorry, I think they should have extreme, their social power should be detrimentally decreased.
Well, I think that would be the most important aspect of the First Amendment, to say that the government's not going to propagandize towards one ideology or the other. Isn't that the whole point of secularism? The second they put the rainbow flags up on the White House.
But what about Christian? Yeah.
What about it?
Should that be in public communication?
Well, so in this particular case, I do think it should be. Yes.
But you just said the First Amendment is about not propaganda.
Right. Well, his argument to me is, wouldn't it be against the First Amendment to outlaw rainbow flags? Right? And I say, no, that wouldn't be against the First Amendment. That would be more in line with the First Amendment.
Wouldn't it be compliant with the First Amendment to outline crucifixes?
You wouldn't necessarily need to even promote crosses or crucifixes. But what you could do is you could promote things like value structures. So let me give you an example of this. You're driving down the street, you look over to the right, and there's billboards. You've seen this a million times, right? Mm-hmm. What if the billboards had things like family, right? Mom, and it showed a mommy and a daddy and the kids, right?
Controversial.
And yeah, exactly. And the push was towards the ideas of normalcy. The push was towards the idea of,
I keep a buck. Why do you need more rights than me? I need to check out your hard drive. Exactly. I mean, keep it a buck. Yes. Why? It's like, I'm sorry. I think this is a danger. I think it's a danger where we are letting one group have such a weird amount of social power, which in turn gives them a lot of political power, a lot of power in a society. I think that's ridiculous.
Of this is what we want to see in society. What if tax breaks?
Hell, some people could make the argument that the alphabet community, right, has more power than the black community, right? They might have more or almost equal social power to the black community, but they're growing to become an equal, if not more power to politically than the black community. Hell, yo, Zyrax, what is up, my sister? Happy Sunday. Just a chill Sunday, you know. I'm just doing some Legos, right? Just building a Lego and watching an interview with Andrew Wilson. Okay. I just did a video a while ago, right, of Jaden Ivory, right, a NBA player. I believe, I didn't double check it, right? I believe he was either fired or suspended, right? Suspended from the NBA because of his Christian views about the LGBT alphabet community. Okay. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, hypothetically, if this black man said something about the president, white supremacy, white people, I guarantee you the black community would support him. The black community would even maybe protest, cry outrage. But because of this Christian man, he said something about alphabet community. Crickets. Not a single powerful black people, black community, or black person, whatever, speaked out and supported this man. I just find this funny. It just shows you how much power, right, the alphabet community has. You better bend your knee to them, right? You better not say shit about them. But God forbid you say shit about Trump, white people, white supremacy. There's a bunch of support there. So black community, right? The black powers that we have would bend their knee to the alphabet community, right? You don't want to trigger the black community. Yet, it's fine to say shit about white people or the president. His wife, he left him. That's insane. I think I heard that his family wasn't with him, right? His family didn't stand behind him. That's what I'm talking about, right? I don't care. I don't care if he said something, whatever. I'm more into talk about, like, why wasn't he supported, right? Here's a black man, right? A successful black man, and he wasn't supported for just talking about his views, right? He wasn't supported for talking about his views. But yet, if he talked about his views against white people, white supremacy, about Trump, then his wife left him, his job fired him or whatever, people would be like up and outraged for a black successful man being punished for his views. So it's like, his white wife is that's insanity, and that's just weakness, right? That's just weakness where all these people would not support. It shows you like I said, the political and even more social power that the alphabet community has. He'd be there's a stigma, right, on him. He's being blacklisted. That is the insanity, right? That is the insanity. Yeah, probably because he has a white wife, so the black community would not support him. It's like, okay, okay. I mean, I think that's just, that's just sad in my opinion. That is just sad. Where that's how it is, right? That's how people would be. I don't know. I just think that's wrong.
Went to married people, right? What if we drastically increase this to the point like some Eastern European countries have done, which has helped their birth rates, where it's like, okay, you have 3 kids, you don't have to pay taxes anymore.
Oh, sign me up for that.
Yeah. You don't have to.
But you don't have to be Christian to pursue that. You could be a secularist politician and promote all those things.
Sure, but under a secular view, why do we need to have a domestic increased population anyway? They can just import who they want. And that's what they did in your country. I mean, that's what they do in my country.
I can give you lots of secular arguments for why having a bigger population is better and having more.
Yeah, but why not import it?
Why not import it? Because you get issues with integration, cultural compatibility.
Unless you import so many of them that the original culture's replaced.
Well, you don't know who you're importing. And also, the argument for tradition, it's actually one of the interesting differences. I mean, we had Dr. David Starkey explain this to I don't remember if it was on our show or not. The difference between American conservatism and British conservatism is British conservatism is about tradition and history, whereas American conservatism is about religion and values. So you could argue for the preservation of a society or the multiplication of an existing culture through time from a non-religious point of view, which is like, what we have is good by definition, a priori, because that's what it is. It's our country, it's our society.
Here's the thing, right? This proves people don't be standing by their values and religion. I don't disagree, but it proves that, you pick and choose things, right? I definitely agree with that, right? I definitely agree. It shows you how your stance are so weak. It shows you how your stance is so weak when, honestly, when push comes to shove, you will back off, right? Like people say, Black power, right? Black power, right? How dare you oppress or, hinder Black excellence? But if you marry out your race, if you talk bad about the alphabet community, hell with that, right? I believe, I also say this, right? The Christians should have been up in arms, but that's the weakness of today's Christians, right? But sadly, the Christian community has been infiltrated by the alphabet community and by single mothers, right? The Christian community has been infiltrated by single mothers and the alphabet community. So they pretty much turn religious Christian communities into pretty much weak ass shit. So no duh that if you are Christian and you talk back about bad about the alphabet community, they would definitely be against you. No duh. Right? And who would support you? Right? When the community that you are supposedly a part of, they're ruled by women. They're ruled by women. I'm sorry. This is why so many men have even left religion. So many men have even left Christianity, because it's ruled by women. Okay? Only small pockets, right? Only small pockets or traditional or what it used to be, or has, any kind of true religious morality. But the problem is it's small pockets. These are small groups. They cannot make any political or social changes, right? Because they have no political or social power. That's the thing. It's a sad world we live in.
Want to make more of that.
So it's good because it's good?
It's good because we are already here, right? It's good because where we are is a product of where we've come from, and where we are, we like ourselves, right?
But then you can't argue against mass migration, because it's just what you're saying is just a tautology. This is good because it's good, and that's good.
This is good because we've been given. Look, okay. If my dad gives me a watch, right, passes, it's not necessarily the watch and its unique qualities that make it special. It's the fact that I got it from my dad. So the culture that we got from our ancestors is worth valuing because we got it from our ancestors, because it's where we've come to as a civilization.
But it's a tautology.
Why?
Because what you're saying is, because I got this from my ancestors, it's good. What makes that good? Because I got that from my ancestors.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And that's tautology. So what you're doing is you're pointing to the identification of the thing as being the thing, right? Which makes the thing the thing.
I get what you're saying, but I think you're missing my point.
So then I say, well, mass migration is good. Why is it good? Well, because it's good.
No, but I think what I'm saying is, if you take the watch example that I gave you, my dad gave me a watch, right? Yeah. There is a sentimental value to that. Why is that? Well, it's connected to the passing down from generation to generation. Why is that important? Well, it's kind of, you might not agree with this, but from an evolutionary perspective, the point of life is to recreate itself. And you'd probably say that's tautology if the point of something is to
so now we're getting a worldview, right? I totally agree with you. The primary edict from an evolutionary standpoint is reproduction.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
So that's why mass immigration is not good, because you're not reproducing your culture, you're bringing in a foreign culture.
Why can't you reproduce your culture with mass migration?
Because it doesn't work in practice, clearly.
Because
people don't integrate.
Let me give you the counter.
Okay.
Are the people that you're importing generally more or less traditional than you?
Traditional to their tradition, yes.
Okay. Do they usually, do their women get pregnant younger than your women?
Yes.
Well, then that seems like it's really good for reproduction.
Of their culture, not
yours?
of ours.
Well, it's culture.
If they don't integrate into our culture, they're not reproducing our culture.
But you want to reproduce your genetics, right?
From an evolutionary perspective.
Why can't you do it with him?
Because culture matters.
Okay, right,
and our culture is better.
But you said the primary edict's reproduction, not reproduction of culture.
No, but it's like saying you said the primary edict is reproduction, so why didn't you adopt kids? Well, no, I want to have my own kids. That's what I'm saying.
But that would be reproduction. You reproducing your genes.
Yes.
You adopting kids, not you reproducing.
He's not reproducing, just like
no. He's not for immigration. He's trying to. This is where he's trying to like. What Andrew does is he's trying to break someone's worldview, right? That's what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to break Constantine's worldviews. That's what he's doing. Here's my okay, Zyrex. This is the thing, girl. This is why I love talking to you, right? This is why I love talking to you. So she says that's because men don't stand for themselves, not because women infiltrated. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of both. Because here's my view on this, okay? So, I think that men have become weak thanks to women's infiltration, right? Thanks to feminism, men have taken a step back. Because here's the thing where, this might be a controversial view. I believe men are good men. I believe the majority of men are good people. I don't believe they're violent people. I don't believe that they are abusive or whatever, toxic masculinity, all that shit. I don't believe that. I believe majority of men are good men. Okay. Now, majority of men, they know that they're supposed to be leaders, so they take charge, all this stuff. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Okay. Majority of men know that when it comes to women, you don't want to fight a woman, right? You want a woman to accept submission, to want to be submissive. Instead of the difference is forcing a woman to be submissive. That's the difference. So let's say women who infiltrated, let's say hypothetically, Christianity. Well, to push back against it is that men have to fight. Men have to force women into submission. Men have to force women. Men will have to be aggressive, right? Push back. But then the pushback is that, again, you have to. It will definitely become a man versus women kind of situation. So a lot of men, yes, they don't stand up for themselves, so they take a step back, right? A lot of men walk away instead of confronting, right? Confronting, confrontation. Okay, so men took a step back, men stepped away from Christianity, from religion, while women took charge of Christianity, right? Just like, let's say, just like marriages, just like family, right? Women are not submissive anymore, right? Women are combative, very masculine in nature. For men to stop that, you have to be forceful, right? But men don't. Men tend to step away from. Men don't want the confrontation. So that's. Here's the thing, right? I don't necessarily agree. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, right? That could be lazy leadership, but the problem is that we live in a nation where, or we live in I guess a culture or nation where, men do not want to. This is why I've always believed this, right? Men are not the type to just. This is why I don't like the toxic masculinity thing. I don't like to say that men are abusive, men are violent, all that shit, because I believe majority of men aren't, right? Men are just they accept their duty in a sense, right? I believe men accept duty. So men know that I have to be the leader. Okay? It's not whether I want to be the leader or I desire to be a leader. No, men accept that role because it's a duty. But the thing where men don't want to fight with the world and then come home and fight with a woman. So men rather, F it. You know what? If women want to be the leaders, take a step. Men take a step. And I agree. I think that's it shows the weakness of a lot of men, right? It shows the weakness of a lot of men for not wanting to step in that role. Okay. Now I think it's maybe a conflict of personalities where a lot of men, again, they're good men. They're not toxic men. They're not abusive men. So they don't want to step in that role and having to fight with a woman, having to combat with a woman. Right. So I don't disagree. Right. I don't disagree. But I think that we definitely need a change of mindset with a lot of men where we need to take back leadership. We need to be forceful. We need to have that strength again. And so many men have lost or just never gained that strength. I think that's depressing. I really do.
but culture itself, the idea of it's an externalized like philosophical concept, or it's a concept of the mind.
Yes.
Right? You would agree with that?
Sure.
You're not reproducing that, you're reproducing your genes. That would be the evolutionary view. And so what the evolutionist progressives would say is like, this is the best way for you to reproduce your genes, because you can bring in a bunch of women who you can breed with younger, so they're going to have more of your children.
But that isn't what's happening. You're importing people who bring their own culture with their own family structure, and they're reproducing that culture.
I'm not arguing this, right? I'm 100,000% with you.
Yeah.
If I were in charge, if I was king of the UK tomorrow, monarch tomorrow, I would close the...
Yo, big bars. What is up, my brother? I would call it weakness. I mean, it could be, you know, a bit of both, right? Plainly laziness, I guess. Lack of tolerance. I think that is the tolerance, right? I think that's men's tolerance, where, you know, you can only tolerate so much, right? Everyone has their limit. So, how a lot of men would tolerate it is that they walk away, right? That is because it's like, who's just going to sit there and get berated, right? Who's going to sit there and get abused? No one should. No one should, and men won't. Okay, so I don't know if I say there's a lack of tolerance. Right? I just think that's people who, you know, I don't know, demonstrate that tolerance. It's different a lot of times. I just say that definitely it's. I think it's weakness, but I also think it's laziness, right? Because it's such a huge effort to, you know, handle a woman. Right? A lot of us men say, you know, why must we have to handle a woman? I agree that we shouldn't have to handle a woman, but I also think that, you know what, sadly we have to. Well, maybe a lack of endurance, but here's my thing: why do we? This is I find this like, you know, there's this thing, right? There's this thing where we constantly say, right, when it comes to men in court, right, the family court. Oh, why doesn't he have to? Why don't men fight for their children? Why must men fight for their children? Why? Women don't. Tell me what area do women fight for their children? What kind of way? What way do women fight for their children? They don't have to, right? Women don't really have to fight for their children, yet men have to, right? Particularly in cases of like divorce, men have to fight for their children instead of automatically 50-50, right? You get your children every other week, just like her. Automatically. No. Men need to fight for their children. That's the thing where it's like endurance. Like, why must men have to endure so much? Why? That's the thing where I don't understand why we put so much emphasis on one gender than the other, right? Men have to endure women. Men have to handle women. Men have to persevere. Men have to tolerate so much. It's like, why? Because like, let's say in reverse, I see so many times where other women will tell other women, why are you tolerating this stuff? Why are you tolerating how this man treats you? Why are you tolerating this? Why are you tolerating that? Right? So we say that to women all the time. Why are you tolerating this man's bad behavior? Why are you tolerating this? Other women don't even promote women to tolerate shit. Right? Women push women to not, tolerate BS from men. Yet it's okay. It's pushing that men need to tolerate women. Men need to handle women, right? That's the thing. Men need to endure, right? Men need to endure the insanity of women. I always like to question that, right? That's my thing with you, Zyrax. I love talking to you, my sister. I love talking to you, my sister. But I want to question that. Why must men do it? Why? I think the best thing for us to do, right? Thank you for joining the club. Thank you for the love. Why must men tolerate so much, endure so much, handle so much? But when it comes to women will promote, don't tolerate this, don't endure this. You don't need to handle this. I don't know. Because it's there to help us, both genders. What? How's that? Perseverance, here's the thing, right? Perseverance I think is a bit different. Because I think, both people would persevere, right? Push it, but I think it might be a little bit different, right? But how's it to help both genders? Because, like I said, in my honest opinion, when it comes to women would readily come to other women and tell you, don't tolerate this, don't endure this with him, right? Oh, okay, I didn't know. Okay, yeah.
gates of immigration immediately and give Tommy Robinson a badge and be like, good job, man. You did the best you could with what you had. But the thing is
I
like,
think I'm missing a piece.
I guess what I'm getting at, before we get into too many reductios, it's
Sure.
just, I'm just trying to point this out.
Yeah.
That what you're arguing, you see how what we just did is we took a fact and we're like vibing over it. But now I've introduced some philosophy to it. And so now I'm asking about the grounding. What is the grounding? What is the thing under the pillar?
I think actually we were both talking about the philosophy.
Yes.
Your argument is from a secular perspective, or from a perspective that's not aligned with yours, you can't argue against mass immigration. I thought I gave you some pretty compelling arguments from a secular perspective against mass immigration.
You can look, you can argue it. Okay, what I'm saying to you is that if everything that you're arguing is just coming from a me perspective, all morality is just dependent on stance, then even if these people are doing something you consider dumb, it's not immoral. How could it be immoral, or how could it be wrong for them to do that? How? And this is a question when you reduce to the ethical purview. I realized a long time ago, Christians can basically do whatever the fuck we want to secular atheists, progressives, because...
What happens to treating others as you would like to be treated?
Well, so you're going to bank on the benevolence of my view?
No, that's the follow.
No.
But
but I should, because you're a Christian.
Right, so if you're going to bank on the benevolence of my view, are you ceding that my view is the right one? Because if it's not...
No, but I'm saying benevolence is an inherent part of being a Christian.
So, but if you have a foundation of just stance dependence for all of your moral claims, right? Then even if I violated this and was a complete hypocrite and actually just verbally just paid it lip service for the purpose of controlling your mind, you can't tell me why that's wrong. You can't really point to it and be like, that's immoral, because there are no moral facts.
Yeah. But, okay, but that being the case, but what we're talking about is, you're saying that you want your ideology to dominate.
Yes.
Effectively.
Yes.
Is that a Christian way of doing things?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I mean, well, if we want to look back through human history, we can start with the Byzantine Empire if you want to.
No, but
massive Orthodox Empire. We can talk about the naming of kings by God himself. We can dive right into the lineage of the King of Kings if you want to. The thing is that I'm not here advocating for a monarch. What I'm saying is that society is better off dominated by Christians than dominated by non-Christians. And if you can point to me a society where that's not true, I'm all ears.
Yeah. And what do you mean by dominated? Because a lot of people hear that word and go, whoa, that sounds authoritarian.
The social, political climate, well, there is some authoritarianism to it, I suppose, but I just think there's authoritarianism to each ideology which exists, including liberal ideology. It's just authoritarianism now by direct democracy. So it's like, I suppose Christians might come in and say some things that are pretty controversial. They might be like, no, gays can't get married. Prostitution's illegal. No more pornography, right? Blasphemy. Let's be a little more chill on that, right? Maybe they'll put in some things like that. Tell me how society's worse. Like, how's society worse because 18-year-olds can't show their asshole on OnlyFans? Like, I honestly want to hear, how's it worse? Like, it seems to me like by every metric, it's way better, right? And the people arguing against it are like, well, we don't want totalitarianism. That's totalitarianism? I'll tell you what I saw as totalitarianism was COVID checkpoints, potential vaccine mandates.
Zyrax, see, I think you have a very skewed view. I don't think women do help men. It's all about fairness to me. I'm a feminist in that I strive for equality where it's needed and makes sense. Here's the thing where, and I you know what? I'd rather you be more humanist than feminist, because I think feminism is a poison, right? But here's the thing where, no, my problem is that, you know, women don't help men. Right? Not today, not in today's standard, not in today's world, not in the Western world. Women don't help men. Women don't. I mean, you show me a situation where women actually help men in mass. Women don't. Now, maybe in your, small pockets, of course, right? But again, women don't. It's more combative. Women are more against men than helpful to men. So that's my thing.
Communications going through Facebook and the government to identify people who wouldn't wear the mask. That seems like a lot more of this totalitarianism, fascism thing than like, oh, sorry, you're 18, you can't put your asshole all over the internet. Sorry. It's like, what? At some point, maybe we can introduce rationality back into the scheme here, right? It's like, It's not you do whatever the fuck you want or it's totalitarianism. That's not how it works. It works like this. We're a nation of laws, and laws are governed by ethics. Like it or not, all laws are informed by a person's ethical worldview. So which ethical worldview you want to make the laws? The people who want 18-year-old girls to put their assholes on OnlyFans, or the people who don't? Which ones would you prefer make the laws of your nation?
But isn't that just quite a simplistic way of looking at it? For instance, if you look at literature, we had Christians saying certain books shouldn't be published. For instance, Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence, a classic of English literature. They didn't want that to be published. They were bowdlerizing Shakespeare. But surely you're a freedom of speech guy, aren't you?
I mean, to an extent, there's no. So here's my view on rights. What is a right? Let's start with that. What is it?
You tell us.
Well, it's a social construction that we made the fuck up. That's what a right is. If it's something else other than that, tell me what it is. Where is it? I can't see it, touch it, taste it,
So it's the
smell it.
social construction that you have a right not to be forced to wear a mask.
Yeah. Why? What else would it be?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like, so where's this going? What's your argument?
Well, the argument is just like rights are made up. Here's what's actually true. What's actually true is you have a right to do whatever you can do within the purview of force. And that's it. You have rights because people use force to ensure that you have rights. And the second people don't ensure that there's force used so that you have rights, you don't have them anymore. But the secularist, or in this case, not really the secularist, but the atheist mind or the non-religious mind, they can't ground rights in anything. They made them up. So they don't come from God. They just made them up. So what they're saying is that we just make this shit up and somehow we're just all going to adhere to it, even though there's no overarching real moral duty to do so. Where does it come from? Nowhere. So rights don't even exist. You can't taste them, can't touch them, can't smell them, right? They're just products of the mind.
But come back to me about the D.H. Lawrence bowdlerizing Shakespeare point.
Yeah.
And you clutched your heart as if you were clutching pearls in a kind of mocking way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that?
Who gives a shit?
I give a shit.
Well, okay, great. Ground it. Ground why I shouldn't outlaw that book. Why is it immoral for me to do that? Why?
Because you are American. You believe in the First Amendment. You believe in freedom of speech.
So you're going to appeal to my morals? So from your view, why is it immoral for me to do that? Why?
Why is it immoral for you to do that?
Yeah.
Because I believe that artistic creation is one of the ways that the human being expresses itself.
Makes sense to me. You notice how you caveated that with "I believe." Well, I don't believe that. Now what? Now where are we?
Well, that's why we have democracy, so we can adjudicate this, right?
So again, now we're just back to outsource. So as long as I can democratically convince enough people to outlaw that book,
Well, I get, but that's kind of unavoidable, isn't it? Like if you live in a society where 99 out of 100 people believe that something should be X and you believe Y, I mean, logically speaking, you're going to end up in a society that outlaws X.
You would end up in a society which outlawed X, but that doesn't mean that's right.
No, I agree.
Or
I
wrong,
agree.
right?
But then ultimately you have a choice of whether you choose to live in that society or not, right?
To an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, maybe you have some control over that. But I guess the point I'm making to you is not that I would outlaw this book, right? The point that I'm making to you is that you don't have any justification for me not to. Like, who cares? Oh, you believe that? So? I believe different. What now, what's the media, what is the threshold breaker? Well, now we're just going to appeal to a majority again. Well, if that's the case, then if I appeal to the majority to outlaw the book, bye-bye book.
Andrew, I'm not trying to argue with you for the sake of argument. It's a great, really enjoyable conversation, actually. I appreciate the way that you stay calm and on the point, but I'm not clear what point you're trying to make here, particularly with this Shakespeare thing. Like,
rights or force? That's my point.
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah. Ultimately, in practice, that is what happens. But what are you trying to say?
It's not ultimately in practice what happens. It's even philosophically the case from the non-Christian view. When you say things like, "Don't you appeal to the First Amendment or this right?" Right? That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Don't you appeal to this right? This right, we need to have the adult conversation. Doesn't even exist. It's just a social construction that we made up and it was pinned on a piece of paper, and we pretend that it's something we actually adhere to, but it's really not.
Well,
violate it constantly. I don't care.
Yeah.
you argue about, and that's why you have a judiciary system to adjudicate whether
Sure.
you are right. But I mean, it's not just some random people wrote it down. It's the founders of your country wrote it down because they were trying to set a set of rules.
Yo, Laughing Man, what's going on, TA? Didn't know you also do Sundays, but makes sense because I seen you through streams on this day. So now, I mean, again, you know what? It's like Sundays is just more free days, right? It's for free, right? Because I'm trying to build a Lego set, right? I'm trying to build a Lego set, and I'm just chilling, right? So I figured I want to watch this interview. I want to chill with you guys. That's it, right? I mean, like, bro, we're just geeking out. We're just doing whatever, right? So I'd rather chill with people I consider friends and family, right? Zyrax, I consider like a sister. Big Bars, brother, you know, Laughing Man, all these guys, all you guys I consider like brothers, right? Family. So hell, I'm watching something, I'm doing some, you know, building, you know, a Lego set. I want to chill with you guys. This is one of my purpose of creating this community is making a community, right? Making an actual community where we're just chilling with each other, right? I believe in this day and age, it's very hard to make friends, very hard to build an actual true community, okay? This is why I'm glad I could talk to you guys, you know, hear your guys' voices, sometimes see your guys' faces. So I want to build a community where, bro, when we're chilling, right? Let's chill. Right? You ain't doing, if you're bored, you ain't doing much, you don't have like, your schedule is free, let's chill, let's hang out, let's, you know, shoot the shit, right? That's my thing, right? So I'm watching this, I'm building a Lego set. So I'm building a, you know, a Lego set. So you know, we're just chilling, we're just hanging out.
For this society to operate by, in order to fulfill what they thought would be a vision of a new country that would be a good one.
One thing that doesn't get talked about enough is how demanding modern diets can be on digestion.
The founders, what they wrote down was based on a massive compromise because beforehand they had the Articles of Confederation, and the Articles of Confederation made each little kind of state, which wasn't a state even really then, their own nations, and it didn't work out very well because they couldn't regulate trade or raise armies or things like this. So what they did via the compromise was they had a 10th Amendment. Now, the 10th Amendment says that all the rights that are not given to the federal government are given to the states prospectively. And at our founding, almost every single state had a state religion. Almost all of them.
Well, of course, and they were religious people.
And they continued to have them, I mean, clear up until there was an interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which was, you know, widely viewed as being unconstitutional to this day. States were always allowed to have their own religion and put in their own religious practices, and those practices were to be adhered to if you wanted to hold office, if you wanted to swear oaths, if you wanted to do things like this. That was part and parcel of American society and the way that we did things. Now that has changed as progressives have kind of demonized the whole idea that
I don't know too, right? I think it may be controversial, but I think YouTube is trying to shadow ban my main account. I don't know. It is what it is.
well, that's against the First Amendment. And it's like, well, no, it ain't. And it was part of the initial compromise anyway. When we're talking about the idea of rights, to get this back to the idea of rights, right? Why is it that states don't have the right to do that? Well, it's because there's an interpretation of an amendment, and then they said, well, you no longer have the right to have your own religions inside of these states. That's what they did. I was like, and who has the force? They do. So everything really comes down, when you're talking about rights, to the ideas of force. And the reason that that's so important to understand is because this republic, when we moved it towards a direct democracy, the reason that that's going to fail is because people don't understand this concept that rights only exist as some kind of like bizarre social construct if they're not grounded in God. How does a secular society uphold rights? How?
But how do you uphold your right not to have to wear a mask in the middle of a pandemic? Through scripture or God?
You know, you would still utilize it through force.
Right.
The scripture doesn't prevent you from utilizing force. With this idea of like Christian pacifism and Christians being pussies, I don't know where that came from.
Britain, I think.
Boy, that was never.
So what about the teachings of Jesus Christ?
Which ones? Which ones do you want to dive into?
Well, I was raised as Catholic, so I'm not as well versed in scripture as you. When he was on the cross, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do.
Of course. And you should forgive people. I absolutely agree with that. I may forgive a man who attempted to rape my wife, but I'm going to kill him in the attempt, right? Like, I don't, which thing's contradictory here? It's like, I can forgive my enemies, but that doesn't mean I need to let them crush me. I can forgive people who've done me wrong. It doesn't mean I need to let them do me more wrong. I can forgive people for doing horrible acts against me. It doesn't mean I need to continue to let them do horrible acts against me. Christian ethics has been widely bastardized by progressive leftists as being some kind of like hippie religion. It is definitely not. It never has been, and I don't know where that came from. Yes, it's true the teachings of Jesus Christ are very heavy on loving your neighbor and understanding forgiveness and understanding the mode of sin, and that most people are going to engage in sin, so we need the forgiveness of Jesus Christ for that. That's true. But it's not a pacifistic religion, and it never has been Jesus told one of his disciples to sell a cloak and buy a sword. He said, but these were not pacifists. Jesus ran money changers out of a temple that with a braided cord.
Yeah. You know what? This is like, people like, there's a few people where I always wondering why does your second channel have so many subscribers? It's because I uploaded I uploaded some shorts that went viral. The shorts, right, on my second channel, sometimes it goes viral, like millions of views on the shorts, right? I try to repost things I find, so they go viral and like thousands of people subscribed. They don't care about the content. They just whatever, they subscribed. So it's like that's why the numbers outnumber it, right? Where this is why I like my Devil's Advocate channel more, where you're subscribing for me. You're subscribing for me, right? Whether you hate me, like me, whatever, if you're going to subscribe on Devil's Advocate, you're subscribing for me because you must like me, or it's just me, right? Even if you hate me, right? You subscribe, hate me. You're doing it for me. While my second channel is that, like, if I post random shit without my face or anything, they subscribing or whatever. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? So it's funny.
Made a leather and whipped them out of the temple.
No, he was giving an example, right?
So, like, I don't know where the idea of pacifism came from. He called them serpents. He called people serpents, whitewashed tombs. He called them all sorts of names. These were killable offenses in his day.
I don't know enough about scripture to challenge you, but it's interesting what you said. But what I wanted to get back to, so this idea of bowdlerizing Shakespeare, cancelling books, etc. I guess for me, now thinking about it, is the reason that it's not good is that you begin to silence ideas. And what Christianity did, and not solely Christianity, but other religions did, is it silenced scientists and people making breakthrough in the scientific fields. And I guess the ultimate example is people be worrying that essentially in schools is we'd be back to teaching creationism, for example, if certain Christians were in charge and presenting creationism as fact.
Why couldn't you just have a compromise there where you said, okay, you can learn either or you can learn neither? That should be up to the parents, don't you think? The education standards for their kids? Why should that be up to the state? Do you think the state should have control over that? Or do you think the parents should? So if the parents say, yeah, you know, I don't really want them to learn evolution, why can't they opt them out?
Because evolution has been proven to be scientifically correct.
That's not your business, what people do with their kids' education. That's their business, right?
Okay, well then why can't I raise my child to be a jihadist?
So you're going to raise your kid to blow people up?
No, but well, why not? I mean, if you say it's not your business, then it's not your business.
Yeah, well, I mean, can you stop parents from raising their kids to be a jihadist?
You can.
How?
You can make sure that within the confines of a school that they're not learning it. We have had schools in the UK where people have been, there's Islamist values and those schools have been closed down.
Okay, so why is it in school that you're supposed to learn reading, writing, arithmetic, and you're supposed to learn science as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying, well, this is a scientific fact, so kids need to learn it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So parents say, well, I dispute this fact, right? I'm not going to teach my kid evolution. How does that hamstring the kid exactly? Like what about that's going to hamstring the child?
What's going to, well, maybe they want to be a scientist. Maybe the way that they see the world, you're actually taking out a fundamental part of their understanding of the world and how it works.
That's a strictly materialistic view, and it's silly.
Is it?
What about the ideas of metaphysical accounting for metaphysical things, like the laws that are immaterial, laws of logic, things like this?
I think they should be taught in school as well.
I don't understand. They're not proven facts. Even though you believe in them, they're not proven facts, but you still want them taught in school?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the Bible's not a proven fact, and you want that taught in school?
Yeah, I believe you should learn the Bible as
Great.
part of a religious studies education.
Well, that's fantastic. Great. Okay, here's my compromise.
Because now I tell you
can
what.
Teach evolution.
Hold on, let him finish.
You can teach evolution, or you can teach creationism, or you can teach both. And parents can have the kids do both, or do neither, which is exactly what I said before. You say same thing. They should teach both.
No. That's not what I was saying. I was saying that you should teach evolution because it has been scientifically proven, but you should also teach the Bible, and you say this is what Christians believe, and it's up to you whether you believe it or not.
Okay. So then I don't understand why. So let me ask it a different way. Is it the case that if you're a religious Christian, that your kid should have to sit through sex education hearing about homosexual sex?
They should have to hearing about homosexual sex? No, they shouldn't. But I believe that.
Why not?
Why not?
Oh, hold on, let me finish. I think the point, there's an important distinction here between different types of sex education. Showing kids porn, as some of your schools do, it shouldn't happen irrespective of whether it's sexual, homosexual, whatever, straight, whatever. Yeah, so that's an important distinction.
Well, you have to show them porn. Like, I remember when I went through sex ed, they definitely showed the naked human body, walked through, showed you these are what breasts are, these are what ovaries are, this is what this is, this is what this is where babies come from. Didn't appear overtly, it wasn't pornographic.
Right.
Right? You do the same exact thing with homosexuality, right? But why do you think that religious fundamentalists should be able to opt their kids out of that?
I don't believe that we should be teaching. I think sex ed should be about I think sex ed should primarily be about safety, actually.
That's it?
Primarily be about safety, and also about how the biological functions work when you have children, etc.
So you don't want it taught in school at all?
What, sex ed?
Yeah.
Yes.
You do?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
great. So then why do you want the parents' ability to tell their teachers, hey, I want to opt my kid out of this? If you're going to be talking about gay sex, you're going to be talking about this, you're going to be talking about that. I want to opt them out of that.
Right, I don't think you should include gay sex in the curriculum.
Why though?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I believe that it actually could offend religious minorities.
Oh.
Okay.
Just like creationism, right?
Right? No, not like creation. Not like Darwin. No, but when you have evolutionary, that is a scientific fact. That is a scientific.
I actually wouldn't go quite that far. It's a scientific theory that's currently accepted. But look, this is
the
actually
distinction between theory and fact. I mean,
well, this is actually. I mean, it's interesting because just so all of this will get condensed into clips on the internet where it's like this person destroyed that person, which is really not the angle of conversation for us.
Yeah.
Really trying to explore the arguments. I mean, I would say a stronger version of your argument is, should parents be able to opt their children out of being taught that climate change is real, right? Because that's where you're going to get someone like Francis or me to go, yeah, I think they should be able to opt out of that, right? Even though that's the scientifically accepted consensus.
Well, I'm not here for destruction.
I know.
None of us are.
But let me come back to a point that I think Francis made that you haven't addressed, which I think is a strong argument. What about the jihadi thing? Like, should devout Muslim families be able to create schools according to this devolvement of religion to the states or whatever, where they teach that particular worldview?
No.
Because
I believe in Christian ethics as the dominant force in society. And since that's the case, I would tailor laws towards Christian ethics being the dominant force in society.
So there would be no schools that taught anything except Christian ethics?
No, it wouldn't be that they would teach nothing but Christian ethics, but we could definitely tailor laws against jihadist ethics, or definitely tailor laws against even importing Muslims at all. The hell are we importing Muslims here for anyway? We don't need them here. Never needed them here. Diversity is our strength. Has not been a strength having Muslims here. The idea that we can't tailor or craft legislation and laws around the things that our children learn, or at least what you can.
You know, that's the thing where I kind of agree in the sense that why do the West need Muslims or desire to have Muslims? Why are Muslims even allowed? Controversially, right? This is controversially. Because why did I say this, right? But why do we even allow Muslims in our country? In the sense that they don't assimilate. They don't. Their culture and ideology don't necessarily assimilate well with American values, Christianity. Okay, Because here's the thing where, one, they're very devout Muslims. Usually, I mean, like, if you are I'm not talking about the fair weather Muslims or whatever, right? I mean, people who convert back and forth. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about true Muslims, right? Muslims that truly follow, Islam. It's that usually they don't really blend well with Western ideology. Why have we become so weak? I mean, yeah, I definitely agree that. But it's like I said, like I don't see the reason, because here's the thing where these are the same people that promote their society so much, right? So much that they want to, steer away from any other religion, right? So let's say hypothetically, like, or for example, like Buddhism, right? You're not going to see Buddhism in your face. You're not, because it's very very covert, okay? Where there's no need to, like, that's how Buddhists were able to assimilate into Western culture, right? Because it's not that aggressive of a religion. That's also a thing where it's the conflict of aggression, right? Muslim religion is very aggressive, right? It's a very aggressive religion, right? So that's why it's like it's incompatible to the Western world. So it's, plus it's like I just find this, right, where, let me say this, how I personally view it is that Islamic religion has not benefited, right, has not really produced anything amazing in their original country, okay? And yet they want to bring a religion that honestly did not help their country anyway and import it into other nations where, like I said, I'm not religious, nor am I white, but I'd rather live in a white and or Christian nation. Because here's the thing, you see Christian nations, right? You see the results of being a Christian nation, right? You see the results of being a white nation. You see the results of it. Look at the results of what a Muslim or Islamic nation has gotten people. Almost probably besides Saudi Arabia, right? I believe Saudi Arabia, so Dubai, whatever. Besides for that place, you see the results of Islam and Muslims, right? You see the results of it. And it's not that desirable. Yet they want to bring their religion into other nations. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good idea.
Opt into and out of. Let's just say, for consistency's sake, sure, you could teach your kid, I guess, theoretically to be a jihadist, and there's nothing I can do about it, and there's nothing a secular state can do about it either, except not let them come in. And then it's really hard to train your kid to be a jihadist, right? Because you're not here.
Well, so from a policy level, this is kind of ultimately comes back to the final question, I suppose, of...
That's the thing, right? With Buddha, it's not necessarily about gods. It's about enlightenment. It's about peace. It's like, that's why it's a more complex, less hostile thing, okay? That's why it's less aggressive. It's a very different, okay? It's more like, it's people, right, finding attainment. I mean, I grew up as a Buddhist, right? My family is. I'm not really a Buddhist, right? That's why I've said this, where I'm not really all that religious. I have my own views of why I'm not really that religious. But, yeah.
What is... do you call yourself a Christian nationalist? Is that your...
I would say Christian populist. Okay. Christian nationalism is often conflated with forms of ethno-nationalism. And people do use it as a cloak for ethno-nationalism. Yeah. I would fall more in line with what's called cultural nationalism. You guys, I think, from watching your content, would fall more in line with probably civic nationalism. So cultural nationalism is talking about the glue which holds cultures together. And the ethno-nationalists obviously believe that's your race, right? Obviously, I think that race is not enough to hold a nation together. There has to be some kind of cultural glue, and that usually comes from religion. So all the laws that I can see seem to be informed by ethics, and those ethics seem to almost universally be informed by Christianity.
So you'd support mass migration from Christian countries?
No.
Why not?
Well, I don't understand. I want my domestic population to grow. So if I want to tailor the best outcomes for my society, then I want my domestic population to grow. I want those families to be very happy. I want them to have the biggest slice of that American dream, right? Because I'm Christian, but also a nationalist. So the idea here is nation first. Me importing a bunch of people from other countries, not putting my nation first, putting their nation first. So my list of priorities would be God, nation, right? Or I'm sorry, God, family, nation. So culture and borders are very important for the nation.
And so so you don't, you're not a Christian nationalist, cultural nationalist. So describe to me the America that you want. What does it look like? What are the...
You mean by tomorrow?
Well,
Let's say I was king tomorrow?
Well, you seemed very keen on this idea, which I'm sure you're excited about. What I mean is, ultimately, you want to transform America into something that it used to be, or that you'd like it to be, or whatever. Let's not argue about that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's just say you want America to be a certain way. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. What does it look like once you've got to that destination? Once you've got to that perfect America, which represents your values as someone who's really interested in Christianity being the dominant force in society. What can you do? What you can't? How is it different from what we have to do?
So while I would say that there's this is a bit of like hypothetical utopianism,
of course,
as long as you're granting me that this is a bit of hypothetical utopianism. So let's say I was King Wilson tomorrow. I'm King Andrew Wilson, and my decrees and edicts go out to all of the land. First thing, mass migration, that's gone immediately. Next thing is focusing on domestic birth rates and domestic birth policies and trying to move America back to a one-income family. The best way to do that is to prioritize from the government level down that women do not defer their childbearing years for college, right? But rather you offer massive incentives to families for them to get married younger, right? Stay at home, have babies with their husband. And if you contract them from the workforce, wages are going to necessarily skyrocket. The second you begin contracting women from the workforce, wages are going to shoot through the roof, especially if you're not filling those roles with migrants. So those would be some of the very first policies that I would put in place. I'd ban porn, I'd ban gay marriage. I'd put in some kinds of laws which had dominion over the airwaves when it came to degeneracy, right? Meaning, I don't think you should turn on Fox or, Channel 32 and see naked women. I don't think that that's good for the public. I don't think it's particularly useful. I would probably outlaw smartphones, or put age restrictions on smartphones, probably till you were like 18 years old.
Age restriction, okay. Outlawing is ridiculous. I would not say outlawing smartphones, right? I think that's like, now you're going to higher level. I mean, like a lot of things he says, I kind of agree with, right? It's very authoritarian, right? But he says king, so it makes sense. It's just God, it is a crazy thing, right? I don't disagree that, banning porn, all this. I don't know, banning porn. I'm not saying it's like. Here's the thing where it's such a slippery slope because I don't believe that, it's totally the worst thing. But I mean, it's not that beneficial to society. Yeah.
There would be some pretty restrictive things that I would put in place, but it would also maximize human ethical flourishing, right? The idea here is like, why do kids need to be looking at smartphones and training their brain towards smartphones? It's been terrible for them.
No, we just did recorded an episode on it. Well, several actually. So I agree with you on that. And is it important to you that outcome is arrived at democratically? That like you persuade half the country that this is the way to be?
So ultimately, the views of what's best for the nation, that's what's going to be first and foremost in my brain, right? Yes, the religious aspect, it's always going to be God first, but from like the things that I can do something about, it's going to be from the national level. The nation that we have is a checks and balance based republic. So obviously I'm going to work within the confines of that in order to make as many compelling and convincing arguments and as many compelling and convincing things I can possibly do to move people towards this view. But remember, the problem with democracy, the big hole in it, is you can democratically remove it. So you can vote out democracy. It's built in right into democracy to be able to do that. And the most American thing you can do is to remove amendments and put in new amendments. We do it all the time, right?
And is that what you'd prefer? You don't want America to be a direct democracy?
No.
What would you like it to be?
I would like it to be what it used to be at the beginning, which is a stakeholder democracy at the very least.
What does that mean?
It means you're either going to have like one household voting, right? So that we're not dividing husbands and wives, because that's really stupid. Or it means that you're going to have some kind of stake in property.
I'm building this Lego set. I can't find this one piece. I'm trying to do a workaround using other pieces, but I think I'm going to fuck it up, right? Because if I'm using other pieces, that takes up its space. I'm missing other pieces down the line. So I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. I might fuck it up for myself. All right, so hopefully I'm using extras. Hopefully. But yeah, I know I'm fucking it up. And I think the last one was 2025. Why it's crazy that didn't you grow up in the 90s? I don't know, but I don't really need a smartphone. Heck, if you remember, no. I mean, like, I'm not saying we need a smartphone, but I'm saying banning a smartphone. I think that's slippery slope. I think banning a smartphone is a slippery slope. Now, I'll say this. I think you should age restrict it. I 100% agree. I think you should not be having a smartphone until you're 18, right? 18 plus. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have a smartphone, so early in life. You shouldn't. You shouldn't be on social media. You shouldn't be on this stuff. So I definitely agree.
Or perhaps 4 years of unpaid public service before you can vote. There has to be some skin in the game, in other words. I'd also raise the voting age, probably to 25, right? I think...
Would women be allowed to vote?
I mean, to at least the degree that men are, but I don't want men to vote for the most part either. I don't think it's a great idea.
But it would be equal between men and women in your view. Really? It doesn't sound like it. If you want a household, well, what I mean is, it sort of sounds like, well, forgive me if I'm misunderstanding this genuinely, you'd like people to get married and to vote as a household, which I imagine would kind of mean that the head of the family, which is the husband, would tend to decide that. And if a woman isn't married, presumably she wouldn't be getting a vote partly for that reason. Yeah. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, what's wrong with that system? Sounds great.
I'm just interested in explaining. Well, it sounds great to you. I'm just interested in...
The thing is like, it's really hard. It's really difficult. When people think of things like, what's the argument against this? This is an immutable character. How could you argue that women shouldn't be able to vote or that men shouldn't be able to vote? It's like, well, at our founding, they couldn't. Women could not vote.
Well, at your founding, as you said yourself, you had slavery, right? So things do change over time.
Sure, but the thing is like...
Sometimes in a good direction.
Sure, and sometimes in a bad direction.
Oh, absolutely.
So the thing is like, the idea that they had there was that most men couldn't vote. There was no universal suffrage for men, including slaves, right? For the most part, were men. And women couldn't vote, because most people weren't allowed to vote. Now, the arguments against women voting are pretty simple, and the idea is landholdership and force, right? Can women utilize force in order to maintain land? The answer is no. Generally, that takes men. So the biggest, if you're looking at feminism, for instance, you had the anti-suffragettes and then the suffragettes. But the anti-suffragettes arguments were way better. The argument was pretty simple. It just worked like this. You cannot erode or get rid of the patriarchy, because you always have to appeal to it for your rights. And that's a fundamental truth. And since that's a fundamental truth, I've never seen a great reason why women should be able to vote. Because they can vote to send men to war that they themselves do not have to go fight. They are not beholden to the draft. Only men are. And they can say, well, you're not beholden to the draft, perhaps because you're too old for it. But you were beholden to the draft when you were not too old for it. So your time could have come.
We're at a strange moment where people are pouring their most private thoughts into AI. Health issues, business ideas, political opinions. Other way around and say men are able to vote on things that affect women that don't affect men.
Like?
Well, all kinds of things. For example, their right to vote. I mean, among other things. But, things to do with sexual health, abortion, all kinds of things, right?
Well, I don't understand. Abortion does have to do with men.
Okay, fine. I mean, it does, but it has more to do with women because it affects them more directly. But lots of other things. I mean, men could pass a law that women have to wear a headscarf, for example, right? So our votes affect each other.
Mhm.
That's not an argument to deny the other sex the vote.
Oh, I don't understand.
Your argument is women can vote to send men to war. And
No,
my argument
is it's called force doctrine. My argument reduces to this. If you always have to appeal to one sex for your rights, right? Then why are you being imbued with the responsibility of that at all? Because women have to appeal to men for their rights, and anytime men want to take rights away from women, they can, like that. And there's not a damn thing women can do about it. And if you want proof of that, let me show you half the world. Anytime, collectively, men say women have no rights, they don't have any. And that's that. And there's not a damn thing that they can do about it. So the idea that they can erode the patriarchy or remove the patriarchy or in some way get away from the patriarchy to be strong, independent women is nonsense. They're just always appealing to the benevolence of men. Always. And so I don't even understand what the purpose is of the vote for women. What is it? We can literally, via force, take it whenever we want anyway. What is the point here?
Well, I would imagine the point is to include the voice of half the population, which is naturally set on different priorities to those of men. And since we live in a society which is half female, it would be worthwhile to include their perspective in how we make decisions.
Why does voting
because it affects them as much as it affects us.
Have you, let me ask you a question. Are you aware that in the United States, we abolished alcohol?
For a period of time. I've seen some movies about how that went.
Who got that amendment passed?
I don't know.
Women.
Okay. Oh, no. If you want to have an argument
hang on.
about our disagreements with how women choose to vote.
No.
There's not
They
much
couldn't vote.
Oh, I see. That's what you're saying. Okay.
They couldn't vote.
But
they still got that amendment passed.
Okay.
The idea that women did not have influence or do not have influence or don't have moral influence on society because they can't vote is stupid.
So what's wrong with formalizing that in the form of a vote?
Well, I just told you, the very idea that women, let's start with this. Do you want women to be able to get drafted in the military?
I personally don't, no.
Why?
Why? Because I've never really thought about it, but it's just an instinctive reaction, actually. I'd have to think about the exact reason, but I just don't think combat is what men do, I guess. It's a very simplistic way of saying it. And
Sure.
there'll be women who, I can kick your ass, and there are women like that, right?
Agreed. But not generally.
What I am not against women serving in the military if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah, but what about the draft, though?
But I don't think they should be compelled to, no.
But men should?
I think in some circumstances, yes. Like when the survival of the country is at stake.
So women get a privilege men don't get?
Sure. Men get certain privileges too.
So why do they have equal rights? No? What privileges? Name a single privilege men get that women don't have access to. What?
You mean legislative?
Anything. Like literally anything.
In life?
Any aspect, whether it be governmental, social, women have all the privilege.
All the privilege?
Oh, yeah. Hey, when the Titanic goes down, who gets on the lifeboat?
Yeah, but that's a very narrow context. Or who dies in childbirth, right? Like, I mean, come on, we're different and...
Almost no women die in childbirth anymore.
Well, some still do.
Sure, but I mean, some people die...
there's probably more women that die in childbirth in America than people who die on the Titanic in the modern
Yeah,
age,
is childbirth avoidable? You just don't have sex, right?
No, but what I'm saying is there are outcomes that are better for men in life and for women, and that's a fundamental difference between men and women.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm talking about privilege. Can you give me any privilege at all that men have that women don't? Whereas I can give you tons of privileges that women have that men don't. That's what I'm asking.
Privilege. Well, I mean, the privilege concept outside the legislative framework is a difficult one.
Even inside of it. I'm asking for both, either. Any, in fact.
I don't have the data on all this stuff, but I would assume there are contexts in which men are more likely to be employed for a certain thing because they're more likely to be perceived as authoritative, as leaders, things like that. Although that has changed with the kind of woke agenda of the last 10 years.
And it works both ways. Like, for instance, preschool teachers.
Yeah.
I would assume that people would vastly prefer that their kid go to a woman, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like that privilege is striped across the board. So like what is why is it that women get all of the equality, right? But also get all the privilege? That doesn't seem right to me. That seems like it's backwards. So like I'm still waiting to hear from anybody ever. What are these, privileges men have over women versus what women have over men? So if you can go and you can be drafted, you can be sent off to war, right? And women can't, but they can vote to send you off to war. How is that not something which fundamentally needs to be addressed immediately? That seems to me like it's completely lopsided, and it's giving one class of people a significant privilege over another.
So if we allowed women to be drafted, you'd be happy with them having the vote?
Well, see, now we come into pragmatic problems, though. The reason that you said earlier, I'm against women being drafted, is because they can't really serve in combat roles. Only in support roles, which draftees of men would have to serve in combat roles. The reason women don't do well in combat roles is because, well, driving tanks is hard work. It takes muscles, and you gotta, run the shells, and you have to carry hundreds of pounds of equipment with you, and you have to do all of this type of thing. And generally speaking, women aren't equipped for it, which is why we've never had a female Navy SEAL to date, even though they've been trying for like 25 years. We still haven't had a single one. They can't do the job. Now, what people always do is point to outliers, right? Well, some women can do it. That's true. Some can, but in general, they can't.
I guess, but when you vote for a government, you don't vote whether to go for war or not. It's the government that makes the decision. There's plenty of people who voted for Donald Trump and are absolutely disgusted that he's started a war with Iran.
I thought government was force. We all agreed on that, right? Government's force. Like, ultimately, that's what it reduces to. So when you say you're voting for force, and you're voting for force use. Why does the United States have a massive military? Well, because we're going to use it. That's why we're going to use it. And why do we have a draft? Well, because we're going to use that too, and have used it. And so the thing is that a lot of what we're voting on is force. We're trying to protect our nation from all foreign threats, right? That's why we have this massive military. That's why we have a draft. That's why we have the potential for mass combat. That's why we entered in World War II, right? It's why we entered, and there was a draft then. And we're going to institute a draft at some point again, likely. It's more likely than not.
I'm just confused. Why is it mostly every time a person from the UK or other countries that debate US problem, that's just weird to me? Like, I'm more interested in talking about your country. Just saying. I mean, this is a thing where it's probably because they're talking to an American. So I think that's probably the thing.
At some point,
Yeah.
we're going to do it. So the thing is like, why do women get exempt from that? And if it's the case that you don't want them exempt from that, why is it that they don't go right to the front lines then and battle it out, like draftees have at least the potential to? Well, that's a fundamental privilege that is not being addressed, right? And yet women have the vote. Doesn't seem like they care too much about men's rights, even though we're supposed to care about theirs. Seems like they have a lot of privilege in society.
Is that fair, Andrew? I think a lot of women care about men's rights, actually. Look, there's a vocal minority which say that they don't and they hate men. And look, we know those type of women. But let's be honest, a lot of women care about men's rights. They do.
Give me like 3 of the most prominent ones you can think of.
Who care about men's rights? Well, I'm trying to think now, but...
Well, I mean, we've had feminists on the show who are feminists, like Louise Perry, for example. They're a different type of feminists to the idiots that you'd be spending your time arguing with, but the people who have a very sensible view of these things.
They don't. I'm sorry. Feminists do not. I'm sorry. No true feminist cares about men's rights. No true feminists actually care about men at all. Now, if you are someone who deems yourself a feminist and you care about men's rights, their well-being and stuff, I think you are more of a humanist, right? A humanist than a feminist, right? I 100% believe that feminism is the advocacy for women. It's the advocacy for women's rights, but it's prominently, I believe, the advocacy for women's power, right? True feminism is the advocacy of women's power, women gaining power, right? It is to deconstruct men's power. And if you deconstruct men's power, guess what comes about? It's for women to have power.
Yeah, lots of people like that. By the way, coming back, not to change subject, but coming back to your point, I mean, one of the things that doesn't make a lot of sense to me is, for example, yes, it's true, men serve in combat roles and women don't, but women bear children and men don't. And there's a huge disadvantage in all sorts of societal outcomes from a materialistic career perspective to spending the time to bear the child and then to nurture that child, right? So
What? Like what?
Well,
that's backwards.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
The gender pay gap discussion, which is kind of stupid in a lot of areas, is actually a reflection of the fact that there is a motherhood gap in lifetime earnings, which is if you're a woman who bears children and then looks after them,
time off and that
you
type
take
of
time
thing.
off, then over the course of your life,
Less overtime.
Yeah, you will earn less. So that would be one disadvantage that I could give you, where women contribute a different thing. So you might say, well, men get drafted, women carry children.
It's not a disadvantage.
But here's the thing, right? I mean, like, how they compensated for that is that men took all the burden. This is the thing where women and honestly, detractors never talk about. During the time that women are pregnant, to the time where women are raising the kids to, let's say, I don't know, the age of 10 or even the age of 18, okay? Who's taking predominantly the burden? Men. Men have the predominant burden of providing, right? At least in old times, right? Olden times. Men took to provide the predominant burden of providing. So why do women now, okay, you know what? Women miss out on the earning potential. Literally, you spent a good chunk of life without needing to earn anything and then having all of your necessities provided for you. So why does it all of a sudden you need to, have potential to earn? It's like everything has sacrifices. Everything has, pluses and minuses. Your plus, right? Your supposed, I don't know, either your minus or plus, however you perceive it, is that you didn't pay for nothing. You paid for nothing, and you got mostly all your necessities made or taken care of, right? Your bills, the roof over your head, clothes you wear, the food you eat, for you and a child, right? And your child. So to say that, the earning potential is gone. Yeah, no duh. Because you focus on something else. You focus on something more important. So let's say after, 18 years, now you go back in the workforce and you're making entry level. So what? You didn't have to. It's like, it's the same situation where, let's say a man, right, who lived in his parents' basement for 18 more years, right, or 18 years, right, until he reached the age of 18, or hell, even after he reached the age of 18, add on another 18 years, right? Now he's 36, right? He spent his practically most of his adulthood in his mother's basement. Do you think that now, after he comes out, out of the cave, he should now get a higher earning potential because he never had to work because his parents were taking care of him? Just because the difference is all because she had a kid. Well, yeah, she had a kid that she chose, a kid that she loved. Like, show me a mom that's a stay-at-home mom and said, I hate this kid, right? I wish I never had this kid. Then why the hell do you have him? Why are you stay-at-home mom? You don't have to be. It's just, it's the sheer insanity of like certain people's argument where they don't view like there's plus and minuses to everything. Your plus was you didn't have to earn anything. You were the boss of your schedule. If you don't want to cook, you don't have to. If you don't want to clean, you didn't have to. Okay? If you don't want to do certain works, besides for keeping the child alive, which is basically feeding it and looking at it, right? Basically changing a diaper, right? But it's very menial work. Very, very easy task. So really it's like, so you can stay home, relax, and do what you want. You're the boss of your own time, your own schedule. You're complaining that you didn't work? You didn't slave away? Ridiculous.
What do you mean?
Oh no! Oh, they have to stay at home. Oh, and raise their kids. Where's the disadvantage again? The man's.
The men get drafted. Where's the disadvantage?
They die.
Okay.
They get shot in the face.
Yeah, and women earn less money over the course of their lives and have to carry a thing
they
that
earn
is a
more.
risk to their
They
life
have-
potentially.
What they have instead is they now don't have to pay for daycare, and they can depend on somebody else's income, which is taking care of them. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God. You get to stay at home and you don't have to do anything except raise your kid. Wow. And by the way, they're putting their kids on a bus almost every morning to go to a public school. They don't even have them for 8 hours out of the day most of the time. So like, how is this the most incredibly difficult job ever, or in some way requires them to have they're the ones who are privileged? You know, there's an old comedian who made this joke, and I agree with it. Any job you can do in your pajamas can't be that hard.
Bill Burr,
Yeah.
favorite comedian of ours, but
Okay, it can't be that hard.
Yo, I had I think a TikTok video, and so many people were saying exactly that.
he was joking though, knowing Bill, and now that he's married with kids, I think his perspective's changed somewhat. But I guess, you know,
I'm married with kids.
Right, you're married. I mean, you watched your wife carry the baby or babies inside her for 9 months. Like, that's a big deal.
Sure.
So I guess that to me would be one example versus the hypothetical risk of once every
privilege.
50 years you get drafted.
In a 2-income household, it's a privilege that women get to stay at home. It's a privilege.
But we're not talking about stuff.
I've said this countless times before. I've said this countless times before. To be a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home wife, it's a luxury that most people can't afford. People don't realize the luxury it is to be a stay-at-home parent. It is a luxury, right? 100% a luxury. And yet people want to say, you know, they have all the BS they want to say about, oh, stay-at-home mom is hard. No, it's a luxury. Most people can't afford it. So if you can have it, it's a sacrifice that someone is taking up for you.
Staying at home. We're talking about carrying the child.
Yeah, but carrying
then
the child has to be raised.
And most women in America then go back to work.
Yeah.
At a disadvantage, as we just
Well, that's not a
established.
disadvantage, though, right? They don't have to have children. You have to go out for a draft.
Well, women do have to have children for our society to reproduce.
Well, they're not. So,
Well, I mean, they are.
I mean, they're definitely
Your wife
not.
is, my wife is.
Yeah, but what's the birth rate? We're under replacement levels.
I know, but you're talking about a side argument. What I'm saying is, in a society that wants to reproduce,
Yeah.
men have to go to war and women have to bear the children.
That's true.
And so why don't we just say, well, the men go to war, the women have children, that's why they both
When
have
are
the
they
same.
going to start having the children part of this?
I mean, my wife's doing it.
Yeah, but
Your
I
wife's
mean,
doing it, so shouldn't they have the right to vote? You're not fucking fighting war, are you?
men. Well,
Nor am
but
I.
is there the potential for that through the draft?
Well, like just the potential for them to have children. You say they're not. Well, I could say you're not being drafted. Same thing.
No, you can't. There is no equivalency, and I can point out the distinction.
Yeah, the compulsion thing.
The
yeah,
compulsion, yes.
But for a society to work, men have to go to war and women have to have kids.
I agree, but you need to get to the they're having kids part before you can tell me that there's some equivalency to men being drafted, because they're not having kids.
And you're not being drafted.
But I can be compelled because I've signed up for the draft. Where have they signed up to have kids?
I think this is a splitting hairs argument.
I think it's not. I think that the idea that my children can be drafted, or I could be drafted even at my age because perhaps I have knowledge which would be useful to the United States military. They could do it in 5 seconds. They could bring me on. They in Ukraine, they draft 60-year-old men. Okay? If they need you, they're going to take you. And you can peel potatoes or whatever it is they need, right? Women do not have to do that. They do not have to sign up for selective service.
Yeah.
They're not compelled and will never be
It's asymmetrical
compelled.
in that way.
They can avoid pregnancy, though, right? And if you're saying that they have a duty to have children.
I'm not saying they have a duty.
But you have a duty to go fight a war if you get drafted.
Correct.
Oh, okay. And this is fair how? Where do we get to the fairness?
Well, not everything has to look exactly symmetrical. But your argument initially was, where's a privilege that men enjoy and women don't? Well, I would argue, in a functioning society where we want to reproduce, women end up with the burden of childbearing and child rearing in a way that men don't. I think it's a fairly simple and obvious argument, right?
And yet they're privileged when it comes to custody and divorces. They're privileged when it comes to child support. They're privileged when it comes to alimony. They're privileged when it comes to all of these things. They have every advantage when it comes to having the child. And so it's like,
It's
no.
a different argument. Now, what I'm saying is the burden of bearing the child is uniquely with women in the same way that the burden of fighting in war is uniquely with men.
So it's an ontological argument. The nature of woman is to have children. Nature of men is to go to war.
Right, and so
Then the woman needs to be fulfilling her nature. Then, right?
Well, my woman is, and so is yours,
Yes,
right?
but most
So
women
I would
aren't.
insist for my woman to have the right to vote on that basis. That she's contributing, frankly, at this point, way more than I am.
Drafting's collective, right?
Yeah,
So then the duty's collective.
yeah.
Then why isn't childbirth?
You see how Andrew's showing the weakness of his argument? You can't have one without the other, right? You can't say certain things and then, you know what, negate anything that, you know, is very comparable to it. You can't. This is why they show you the weakness of your argument. This is why I said so many people like hate Andrew, but again, I don't agree, because again, I'm not religious, so I don't agree with his religious basis, but the man is logical, right? He is logical to a fault. I love how this man debates. I really do, because it's very intellectual, very precise. There's a reason why he say the shit that he says.
I don't understand. You're saying for women to have the right to vote, they must have a duty to bear children.
Yeah. Well, if you're saying that there's a duty for men to go to war, and you're saying that the reason that they do is because that's their ontological nature, and the ontological nature of women is to have children, okay, I can concede that argument. But we just ran into a problem then, because if one is collective and then the other is collective, why do I have to fulfill my duty, but they don't have to fulfill theirs?
Well, I never said that I thought it was a collective duty for women to have children.
But it's a collective duty for men to go.
Yeah.
Well, then again, that sounds like privilege.
Yeah. In the same way that fire safety in your own house is a personal thing that you do, but if there's a fire in the neighborhood, it's a collective duty of the neighbors to get together and try and put it out, right? There's a different something can
Do
be.
you go to jail if you don't do that?
Yeah. I agree with you. The compulsion element is different, but not everything is exactly the same.
I'm not even asking. Like, I agree with you. Getting drafted and having babies is different. We can agree with that, right?
Both important, though, right? For
Both
society.
important. But the idea here that we are talking about, which should be equal, is the idea of duty. If we're talking about the compellence of you, if your country drafted you, even if you're in terrible shape, and they told you, look, we're in a collective war effort and we need you, and you're going to come in here and just cook food because our soldiers need food, right? Are you going to go do it?
I'd do it voluntarily, to be honest, but
Yeah, you would do it.
I wouldn't be very useful, but yeah.
Now,
Terrible cook, terrible
now
soldier.
you're compelled to do that.
Right.
And part of your duty and honor is that you have to go do it.
Sure.
I agree with this, okay? But if we have a compelling duty that men have an ontological function, only men can do this, therefore they should.
I would agree to that too, right? I mean, like, if my country needs me and I can provide, I mean, again, it's within reason, right? It's like, if they need me to just go straight up and die, they know I have no chance of winning, then that's no, right? Now, if I was like, you know, in my 20s and they need me to, like, you know, go into battle, I probably would do it, right? There's a high probability I would do it. Well, I'm more patriotic than I was now than I was back in my youth, right? But I mean, I think I would, right? But I mean, when I was young, I did want to join the military. It's my mom that stopped me. She was really against it, right? I mean, I guess I can understand why, but yeah. I mean, if I could help, I would help.
Why does that duty not apply the other way? That to me is inconsistent, and it's a hole in the worldview. It makes no sense to me.
I agree with you, it's inconsistent, but that's because the acts are not equivalent. Like, not everything is the same. I think in order for the defense of the realm, so to speak, you'll have to compel all the men to fight in certain very
And where
rare
do those men come
circumstances.
from?
Women, right.
So then one duty's being fulfilled?
No, I'm all with you in terms of we need a higher birth rate. I just don't think duty is the way to get there. Anyway, we've
Wait, couldn't you just, I'll just wrap with this.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay,
it's just
but
it's
couldn't
a time
you,
thing.
when you say duty,
Yeah.
can't you instill the ideas of duty and honor even absent legislation through propaganda, things like that?
Sure. Yeah.
Those are the routes that I would be more apt to move towards.
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, man, this is the thing is like, actually, a lot of this discourse, I think, is misguided because the vast majority of women actually do want to have kids, but there are circumstances in their life which make them less likely to do so.
I agree.
And so you made this point yourself, there are countries, they're not having as many results as people would like to think, unfortunately, places like Hungary. But I think the way to get people to have more kids is to get obstacles out of their way, not to compel them through the draft system. Like, here's your ticket, have 2 kids. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going to work, but it seems we agree on that. Anyway, Andrew, it's been great having you on.
You too, guys. I really appreciate the combo.
You know, and it's actually interesting because, like, obviously there's areas of disagreement, but it's just fascinating to me that it's so much easier to have a conversation from a place of complete disagreement with someone on the right than with someone who's progressive.
Well, that's because
You know, this is the thing, right? You literally saw how Constantine. I showed the video, right? I did the live stream. I think last week, right? I think it was last week. Yeah. During the week of Constantine having debate against Destiny, comparatively having a debate or a conversation with Andrew. I'm sorry, right? It's less emotional, right? More conversational, more logical, having a debate with someone on the right or in the center or center right than it is with anyone that's left leaning at all. I'm sorry, it is.
I think that this comes down a lot of times to being good faith.
Right.
He's cooking them.
I want to know your view.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that you want to know mine.
Yeah, we do.
And so the reason that what we just did right now, I guarantee you much of it's going to go viral and this type of thing isn't just because you have a huge channel and we both have big audiences, but it's also because people just saw a discussion that seemed real.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was real.
And that it seemed like we were trying to get at each other's views, try to understand them, and we're not killing each other.
No.
Right.
So it's like, maybe we can start there.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it just frustrates me because I would love, you know, I raised this right at the beginning with you, which is, isn't there a center-left sensible part of society? And I truly, this may be an article of faith on my part, but I truly believe lots of people like that exist. But where is their champion? Where is their champion? Because what we see now is people who can't have like, there will be lots of people who watch your views on this, particularly outside the US, where the kind of more Christian ethics-based worldview is more common, who will be horrified by what you said, right? They will be completely horrified. But we explored that and we got to the bottom of what you believe, right? And you're entitled to believe what you believe. Other people are entitled to not agree. But if there was a progressive sitting in our seat, or even in your seat, we'd never even get to what the views were. And that to me is so frustrating.
Well, yeah, it's a fundamental dishonest. Like I said at the very beginning, I hate the left. And there is a fundamental dishonesty that comes with their anti-realism views on morality that makes me sick to my stomach. And the thing is, it's like, look, maybe I don't get everything I want. Maybe I get 30% or 20% of what I want. Maybe you get 80%, right? But at least we're getting to something.
Yeah.
We're getting to something. We're addressing something. With these people, you can't even address it. Well, because why? Well, because it's unprecedented, says Meth Jaw. Oh, it's unprecedented. But everything's unprecedented, right? Destiny is Meth Jaw. These people live in ambiguity. And so that's why you can't ever get to anything. Everything's equivocations, ambiguity. They never want to pin down their actual positions. And then when you get to their actual positions, they know that they're untenable, so they just obfuscate away from them and they move on to other things. You can all disagree with everything I just said here, but you can't say that it's not reasoned out.
Yeah.
You can't say there's no logic to it. You can't say that I didn't really sit and have a good think before I came to these views. You can say that about progressives, though.
Andrew, thank you for the discussion. What is the one thing we're not talking about as a society that we should be?
We're not talking about the birth rate enough. That's the critical view and component which keeps all of humanity and society going. And if you look at projections for humanity in the next 200 years, it doesn't look good. And ultimately, as a Christian, first and foremost, I am the ultimate humanist. I want to see human beings and more of them all over this planet, having more babies and families and all that good, wonderful stuff. So I think that that's the thing we should focus on more than anything else.
All right, head on over to...
I love that. This should be like a over 2-hour video. I'm sorry. It should be a longer video. I think it should have been a longer video. Definitely should. I wanted to, again, I'm gonna watch this video anyway, so I figured I'm gonna watch it with you guys, right? I like watching her sometimes, right? She talks about murder mysteries. So again, I'm, you know, building a Lego piece, right? Building my it's not necessarily Lego, but it's a Lego, right? Right. I bought this in Vietnam, so I'm building that and watching this. So I figured, if you guys want, watch it with me, right? Let's watch it together.
Of it on his russet potato that he has now converted into a camera. And to be fair, maybe the aliens, they could be flying over Times Square and we just don't see it. But the concept of it is interesting. Why always in the middle of nowhere? Why do aliens choose to fly the routes that they choose? It's almost like if you want to go see an alien, you have to go to the middle of nowhere, where you least expect it. And for Mateo, the place that he least expects to see something out of the ordinary, out of this world, is the local pizza shop. Mateo is driving to town. It's a town called Nuremberg, and this is in Germany. It's about 2 hours from Munich. He's in the driver's seat. His friend that he dragged along for no reason other than the fact that he did not want to go on a lonely road trip is sitting in the passenger seat. They start driving, and it's towards this highway ramp where there's like a little pizza shop. It's a local pizza shop. Everybody knows this pizzeria. It's not like the most delicious pizza in the world. It's not like the hottest restaurant. It's just been around for a while, and the locals like it. As they're driving past this restaurant, Mateo glances out the side of his window, and in that exact moment, he sees something. And his friend's head in the passenger seat almost hits the dash because Mateo is slamming on the brakes, and his friend is like, what the hell is that? Mateo barely responds. He just says, quote, "Screw Nuremberg. There's something more important right now." He does the quickest U-turn he can physically manage. He pulls right up into the lot of the pizza restaurant. It's honestly a surprise that he puts the car into park because he's just flying out the driver's side door. He walks straight up to a girl with very long dark hair standing in front of the pizzeria. She looks very like skittish. Her eyes are really big and she's staring at him and he's staring at her and she's staring at him. And he says the first thing he asks her is, Are you dead?
What?
She's staring at him and she responds slowly, I don't know. And then she runs away. Mateo jumps back into his car and he's got a...
I know, laughing man, I love it, right? My brother, you like, this is why I love hanging out with you, my brother. I love hanging out with you. I do. I consider this a hangout, right? Where brothers just chilling, right? Just chilling with each other. You know, I love it. 100%. First one here, last one out. I love it, my brother. That's why mad respect, mad love to you always.
Follow her because she's not supposed to be here. I mean, she's not supposed to be anywhere. She's supposed to be dead. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, a nonprofit focused on immigrant civic engagement, education assistance, and local policy intervention. Officer sitting on the left, one officer on his right. It's very suffocating. I mean, they couldn't get a bigger table. I'm sure the size is likely the intention, though. Usually, when the local town starts tagging, "This is the killer," in Facebook comment sections, I mean, the police have a picture of who it's going to be, and Rowan does not fit that picture. He's young, like very young, early, mid-20s. He looks fit, he's well-groomed, he kind of has this soft energy to him. He kind of looks like an Instagram model. I mean, not that that measures someone's morality. If anything, it probably decreases the morality, but like, it's just not what detectives are expecting, especially because he came in here voluntarily. The detectives were looking for him, and he said, "I will come to you." And that is how for the next 4.5 hours, they're sitting in this gray room together on a square table, and the female detectives are sitting on either side of him. And the first question they ask Rowan is, "How are you?" He looks at them. "You know what? I feel an absolute emptiness and utter chaos inside." That's a direct quote. For the past 24 hours, Rowan says he was scared to go outside. Everyone in his phone is texting him, sending him social media posts, writing things like, "You're a wanted man. They're gonna want your head for this. You're gonna go down for this. So did you do it? Did you kill her?" So yeah, I mean, he's seen better days, okay? But why would everyone accuse him of killing the girl that was stabbed 56 times to death in the back of her car. The car was parked on a residential street. It's like one of those tree-lined residential streets. I mean, was the car parked in front of his house? Did he leave fingerprints? Why does everyone think it's Rowan? It's because the woman that was found dead is Sherry Ben Kay, but they call her Sherry, and it's his ex-wife. They met in 2015. It's kind of like one of those meet cute dramas. He's explaining to the officers. It was at a subway station. Rowan is going up the escalator and Sherry is walking down the stairs right next to it. And he says, quote, "It's a very special moment for me. I mean, I saw this girl, beautiful. Her hair was so beautiful." They make eye contact. The rest is history. But now Sherry's parents are adamant that Rowan had something to do with their daughter's death. They just know it. The detectives ask him, "Why do you think that they think you're the one who did it?" It's a really, really long story. This all starts unfolding less than 24 hours ago. 23-year-old Sherry tells her parents that she's gonna go see her ex-husband, Rowan, at Rowan's house. But by 10 p.m., she's still not home, and everyone in the family, probably everybody in the town, knows that Sherry and Rowan's relationship, ex-relationship, not good. Not good at all. So whatever they're meeting for could not have gone well if she's still not home. She's also not picking up her phone. Sherry's parents start getting anxious. They're thinking, but it's still Rowan. Like, there's no way that he could do anything. I mean, they jump into their car and they start driving the road that Sherry would have taken to get to Rowan's house. And in the middle of a residential tree-lined street, they stop the car. Because they're like, isn't that her car? Isn't that not Sherry's Mercedes? They park the car in the middle of the road. They jump out and they start looking in the car. This is not where Rowan lives. It's like on the way to Rowan's house. So it's very weird. Like, it looks like Sherry's car. It has the same tinted windows, but like maybe it's not her car. So they stop, they get out, and the front is empty. It's a E-Class coupe, E300. It's kind of relevant because the back windows are much smaller and they're tinted extra dark. So nobody's in the front, but now they're trying to peer through the back. They're cupping their eyes. They're like sticking their faces close to the window as they can. And they're like, it's Sherry. Sherry's in the back. They see in the back seat, there's a woman with long brown hair. She's laying just like splayed out on the back seat, on her back. She has a jacket covering her, but you can see her hair. You can see that she's just laying there and she's not moving. It's not like she's taking a nap. Sherry's parents start pounding on the window. One of them starts with all their strength, just trying to brute force open the door. It's locked. The car key isn't inside the car, which is weird because if this is Sherry's car and Sherry's inside the car taking a nap or something, would the car not unlock? By this point, it's a small residential street. Neighbors have started coming outside. They're wondering who the hell is screaming. A lot of them are angry until they see Sherry's parents and they're like, oh, okay, we have no right to be angry. Something bad is happening. We gotta help. Some of them are coming up trying to smash the windows with Sherry's parents. Someone tries to break in through the passenger seat. Someone's trying to crawl under the car. Like, someone's calling 911. It's chaos. And then the police arrive. They smash open the car window, unlock the car, and they create this like human barricade as they carry Sherry out of the car and immediately place her on the ground. Neighbors, the quick thinking ones, they're also creating a wall in between the police and Sherry's parents because Sherry is gone. She's drenched in blood. Her entire body is covered in punctures, stab wounds, all around her chest, neck, face. Her face looks like she's just been completely torn apart. It would make more sense had she been mauled by an animal, but it's clearly much more sinister than that. Like, there are clear knife puncture wounds. From neighbors' accounts, Sherry's mom is uncontrollably screaming, trying to fling her own body through the neighbors, through the police so that she can get to Sherry. Other neighbors, new neighbors, they start running out of their house because they see some sort of commotion. And they say that it was a really difficult sight. When they run towards the crowd, you just see some of the neighbors are standing there with a very somber look. One person at the scene says, the paramedic who was on site, the one who had actually attempted resuscitation, struggled for, instance, to place the breathing mask over her mouth because her face was so utterly destroyed by stab wounds.
Thank you guys for being here, right? Thank you guys for hanging out with me, okay? I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to build this bear, right? This cool looking bear that I bought in Vietnam. Trying to build it, and I'm just watching I was watching Andrew Wilson's interview before, and now I'm watching a murder mystery. I'm just chilling, right? It's a chill Sunday, it's a chill stream, right? If you guys want to hang out with me, I want to build a community where we can hang out with each other, we can chill with each other. So, if you guys don't mind chilling with me, we're just watching some some other kind of content and just chilling. If you guys are playing video games, if you guys are building Lego sets yourself, you guys are doing whatever, have me in the background, we can watch this together, we can talk about it like, that's crazy, right? It's crazy what she's talking about right now. And it's interesting. Sometimes I like to check out these murder mysteries and stuff. So.
That the device simply could not create a proper seal. It was clear that this is no longer a living body. At the scene, Sherry's dad is announcing while his daughter is on the ground, Rowan did this. I just know that he has something to do with this. And now Rowan is sitting inside this police interview room. Why would Sherry's parents think that he's involved? Rowan tells them everything about the relationship, Sherry getting pregnant, her parents, the soap incident, you know, everything in between. And then he tells them, you have to understand, I was with Sherry for 7 years. I went through a phase where I was so desperate for revenge, was driven by vengeance. I was really scared that either she would hurt me, I would hurt myself, or that she would force me to hurt her. After 4.5 hours, everyone in the interrogation room decides it's time for a break. Rowan is not formally under arrest, so he asks to go outside to smoke a cigarette. And as he's lighting up his cigarette, taking his first quote, I took a deep drag, the officer, female officer, walks out, and she's got like a weird look on her face. And she just says, she's alive.
She's alive?
Yeah, like, what do you mean she's alive? He just got grilled for the past 4.5 hours because they thought he killed her. What do you mean she's alive? They confirmed that Sherry was just now found alive, caught on CCTV camera, a dead woman walking, or at least she was supposed to be dead. Rowan says in a very confused state, like, Sherry's alive, but then another girl is dead. Yes, but then who is the other girl? And why was she found dead in Sherry's car? It seems like a modern book trope. You meet your doppelganger and they slowly come into your life and they decide, I think this is my life now. And they do whatever it takes to slowly drive you crazy, isolate you from your loved ones, and then one day you go missing, you come back, you knock on the door, and a woman who looks just like you opens the door and she claims that she's you. She's married to your husband, your kids call her mom, all your friends think that she is you, but not only that, they like her better than they ever liked you. What the hell is going on, okay? That seems like a new and fresh trope, but it's actually a trope that's been around for hundreds of years, because there is terror in the idea of being replaced. I think the fear that identity makes someone unique is not unique at all is a big fear. That your identity and your life can be studied and then someone can rehearse it and then they can just take over your life by pretending to be you as if like it's just a jacket that you can put on. Even the classics love this trope. Dostoevsky wrote Double, where the main character is like this meek government clerk and he meets a man who looks exactly like him. Same face, same name, same everything, same job. Everyone loves him. Nobody likes the main character, but everybody loves him. So his double doesn't just steal the main character's life, he lives the main character's life better. Sometimes the doppelganger and the main character, like Edgar Allan Poe's William Wilson, the main character is being stalked by a double who shares his name, face, they even have the same birthday. The doppelganger just keeps ruining the main character's life and reputation, sleeping with married women, pretending to be him, conning people. Eventually, he has enough and he stabs the doppelganger, only to find out it's just himself. Sometimes the doppelganger is you. Sometimes the doppelganger is very real and you have to run for them. And sometimes it's a hostile takeover. Sometimes you see someone who looks just like you and you think, what if I took over their life? Imagine you meet someone who looks identical to you. Nobody would ever be able to tell you apart. But they're an Oscar-winning actress living in a mansion with an infinity pool and a husband who chases her around just to get her affection because he's a dog on a leash for her. Her friends are super supportive. They all have a book club where they read nonfiction books about how to better themselves, but not in the annoying way. In the way that they just want to show up as better friends for one another. All of her bills are on auto pay. She doesn't even need to know how much the electricity bill is every month. She takes spontaneous trips to Tokyo for cherry blossom season. And all you have to do is kill her to take her life. Do you do it? Most people are going to say no, but I think maybe like most people should have a few glasses of wine and think about it at night in a way that's non-judgmental. It's just part of human nature. Some people will be a little bit more honest with themselves of, I might at least think about it. Which is why the news secondary feeling around doppelgangers is, it's a death omen when you meet yours, because you're not supposed to meet them. It's like a glitch in the universe. When you meet someone who looks just like you, exactly like you, something really bad is going to happen to you. Because one of you has to die. I mean, both of you can't be alive, right? That's the omen. But what are the odds that you run into someone who looks exactly like you? I mean, it's likely very, very low. Even with social media, you have people who look similar, but I've never seen two people where I'm like, no, they could literally take over the other person's life. They're identical in every sense of the word. Their loved ones would never know. So what are the odds that you come across your doppelganger? But then what do you do when someone who looks just like you messages you on Instagram and wants to meet up? A total of 26 messages are sent out to 26 people who could all pass somewhat as doppelgangers. Not really, but kind of. They're all in their early 20s. They've got dark long hair, specific facial features. They're between 5'2", 5'4" in height, brown eyes, dark hair, olive undertone skin. To say they look identical would be a lie. But if you take off your contacts and you take 3 shots of tequila and you sit on a vibration plate on the highest setting while everything is shaky and blurry and you see a photo lineup of the 24 people, you could potentially mistake a few of them as being each other. They all have similar features, but so do like half of the world. If you actually study their faces, they don't actually look alike, but that's okay because perfection is not what Sherry is looking for. Khadijah is one of the 26 girls who receives a message. A lot of people online have been calling her a beauty blogger, and she certainly is beautiful, and she certainly has a high interest in makeup. She also posts on TikTok and Instagram, but a lot of her friends don't love that title because just the negative connotation, it almost dumbs her down. Khadijah worked at a cafe, she worked at a restaurant. Her best friend that she grew up with says that she was always someone who had a knack for languages. She just learns languages so quickly, so she wanted to become an interpreter
Laughing man, I always love seeing your comments. I 100% agree. I love it. Right? Because it's like talking to a friend. Like I love seeing anyone, right? Alvi, I love seeing you guys comments. So 100%, I love seeing you guys comment.
Get married, have kids of her own. That was her dream. And then 23-year-old Khadijah gets a message, and it's going to lead to a series of events that is now called the doppelganger case in Germany. Sherry Ben K, Sherry, she is not living the life that she's always wanted. I mean, who is? But like, Sherry isn't someone who likes to just sit there and accept her fate. Is it her fault that her family immigrated to Germany when she was 7 because they were being hunted down and killed for their religion? Obviously not. But Sherry is trying to adapt. Everyone said that during school, Sherry was like the center of attention, and she very much liked male-centered attention. And like objectively speaking, she just liked to be around guys. Most of her energy was placed into which guys she could talk to after school. And then even later in life, it was all about guys, okay? And people start stating, this is very inappropriate, but people started stating that she had a very seductive behavior about her. Which, I mean, is inappropriate to say the least. But she starts dating this guy named Rowan near the end of high school. And she's at the...
Is it inappropriate or true? This is my thing when, let's say with women, they don't hold each other accountable. Women don't hold each other accountable, okay? If you are a slut, you're a slut. If that's the personality you put, just go own up to it. Tell her, like, yeah, she was, like, literally, she said that this is the type of woman that, is wanting to center attention, right? She wants to be the center of attention. It's just her personality, right? And then a lot of women use their sexuality to their advantage. A lot of women use their bodies to their advantage. It's just how it is. So I think we got to be straight up with how, a lot of women are.
Subway station, kissing him, when she hears this familiar voice behind her, "Get your hands off my niece." It's her uncle. Which now would be a pertinent time to let you know that Sherry's parents incredibly strict. They do not want her dating anybody. And she's just making out with this guy named Rowan at a subway station. She is 18, but this is still very young for her family. And Sherry's uncle is pissed. And allegedly, instead of informing Sherry's parents about what he saw, he starts blackmailing Sherry. He's like, I'm just going to blackmail you. I don't know what he's getting from Sherry, whether it's money or something else. I have no clue.
How do we know he blackmailing her?
A lot of inner sources close to Sherry were saying she was getting blackmailed by her uncle.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he starts blackmailing her about her relationship. Eventually, Sherry's parents, they find out regardless, and they urge Sherry and Rowan, then you guys just need to get married. If you're going to date, you're going to fucking get married. All of this only works out because Rowan is Yazidi. Yazidism is one of the oldest continuously practiced religions in the world. It's an ethno-religious faith. It's like a closed-door religion. So you have to either be born into it, you cannot convert into it, and once you leave it permanently. In 2014, ISIS launched a coordinated attack against Yazidis. The incident has been recognized by the UN as a genocide. Thousands of Yazidis were beheaded, burned alive, killed. More than that they were kidnapped and enslaved and trafficked. Young boys were forced into ISIS training camps. Young girls, some as young as 9 years old, were either trafficked or sold or gifted to ISIS soldiers. So in 2014, a lot of Yazidi believers, they fled to neighboring countries, and Germany ends up being like a huge one for the diaspora. A lot of the Yazidi community had already been steadily growing in Germany, so people are like, we gotta go to Germany. Two important things to note. One, there is a lot of tension between older Yazidi family members in Germany and younger generations of Yazidi in Germany, because there's a lot of complaint. I mean, a lot of these elders, they're like, we fled for our lives because of our religion. Like, these are our traditions. We need to stand by this. We almost lost our lives for what we believe in. And then the younger ones that are born in Germany or have been raised in Germany, they're like, I just want to scroll on TikTok and date people. And a huge problem is in the Yazidi religion, you can only marry another Yazidi, and they have to be in your caste. Yazidi has a caste system. So the top are religious and community leaders, then you have the priests, and then you have the majority. So 3 castes, and you have to marry someone in your same caste. A lot of people in Germany, the younger Yazidis, are like, well, I don't even know if I want to marry someone who's also Yazidi because most of the people that I grow up with are not. But Rowan happens to be Yazidi, and so is Sherry. And not only that, they're the same caste. So despite the fact that the two families, Rowan's parents and Sherry's parents, do not get along, they actually really, really don't like each other, they end up getting married, and
That is how people die out, right? That is how people die out, which is kind of ridiculous sometimes with their, backwards point of views. That's how, royal families die out. That's just how a lot of people die out.
Open up a hair salon together. It's mainly Rowan's. He has his own barbershop. Sherry starts doing like facials there, and sometimes she does updos for brides and these like women's hairstyles. But aside from that and a few strange incidents, like Sherry breaking into Rowan's brother's house and then taking a taser to his neck and tasing him in the back of the neck and then immediately apologizing and begging for forgiveness, other than some strange incidents like that, The couple seems normal.
What do you mean? What does that mean? Like that they got into a fight and she just decided to physically assault him and attack him?
She felt like Rowan's brother did not like her.
Okay, and that's her.
So she broke into his house and tased him in the back of the neck with a taser. And then he turned around and she started apologizing profusely.
Fascinating. So you think she tried to attack him thinking that he wouldn't find out, but turned out he saw her?
Perhaps, because she does try to kill him later, but we'll get more into that in a second. Yeah.
Okay.
So from the outside, aside from some of the weird incidents that people have kind of heard about, the couple seems normal enough. And then in 2020, Sherry is barely 20 years old and she gets pregnant, but not with Rowan's baby. He says their entire relationship, he could practically smell the other men on Sherry. Rowan calls Sherry's dad very emotional. He's like, I can't do it anymore. He won't even let Sherry's very domineering dad talk. He's like, let me talk. It's my chance to talk. I'm speaking now. These are direct quotes. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to talk and you will listen. Rowan tells Sherry's dad everything. And at the end, he tells him, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to be with Sherry anymore.
أرجعنا من بوراندي لك من خلاص تماهيكات من شوابتن من واقوتي قبط نك من خلاص بردانة وخلاص.
And then there's just silence. And then on the other end, Sherry's dad tells Rowan, if you abandon my daughter, it will cost 3 human lives. What does that even mean? To this, Rowan just responds, then I would rather die by a bullet from you than die a little every day with your daughter.
Who are the 3 lives? Did he say?
It's gonna work out in a weird way. He never said. Now, maybe Sherry is so done with her life, she decides she doesn't want to live it anymore. Maybe she can take someone else's life, like all of those thriller books. Find someone that looks like her, that's living a better life than her, and then get rid of them and resume their identity. That's the plot of thriller books. But that's not what Sherry wants to do. Sherry has a completely different plan. Instead of taking someone else's fate, she wants someone to take her fate. She wants someone to die for her. And that is how Khadijah, a woman who knows nothing about Sherry, who has nothing to do with Sherry, the only connection between the two of them is that Sherry thinks that they look alike. I will say Khadijah is much more beautiful. But that's why Khadijah is found with her face bashed in with brass knuckles, stabbed in the face, neck, and chest, dead in the back of Sherry's Mercedes. Within days, Sherry is brought in and she's treated as the prime suspect of what the police originally thought was her murder.
This is why these are backwards, right? These religious killings, these family killings, where you would do all this just for what? It's like, I'm sorry, this is why, I said this a few times during this video, is that I'm not religious. It's because of this, right? It's the restrictions. It's the sheer, like, where's the logic in it? I'm going to kill my child because they don't follow my religion. Not because they aren't good people. It's not because, they're productive adults. It's not because they're good adults. They're just good people. No, because they don't follow this whatever ideology. If they want to get divorced, whatever, okay? That's the insanity of it. That's why, I'm sorry, why I can't be religious. I can't be religious because it's more like, this is what religion has produced, right? I'd rather say just be honest, right? If you're a bad person, you're a bad person, okay? It's not because, let's don't blame it on religion. No, because people will use religion as a scapegoat. Oh, you know what? Oh, religious people did bad because of, the Bible says this or that. No, you're just a bad person. That's why I prefer, like, you know what? If I'm a bad person, I'm a bad person. I don't need a scapegoat. I don't need that shit. So I want to take it out where if these people, right, didn't use religion, they're just shitty people. We show it that they're just shitty people. That's how I see it.
So she goes from being the presumed victim to the potential suspect. And by this point, a few things have occurred. When a body was found in the back of Sherry's car with dark brown hair, just like Sherry, her face is disfigured from stab wounds, but she's about the same height, the same weight. Everybody assumed it was Sherry. Sherry's parents went onto Facebook to post about her death, her murder, begging locals to help identify who they think that did this to their daughter, even though they think it's Rowan. Sherry's parents are telling the police that if they had to put their money on anybody, it would be Rowan. The whole town is ready to form a mob and go burn down Rowan, the ex-husband's house. Meanwhile, the authorities are quietly doing a DNA test because they still have to make sure that this is Sherry. And there's something curious. The body in the car has a small tattoo on their arm, and Sherry's parents are adamant that she does not have any tattoos. So either Sherry lied about getting a tattoo or something weird is happening. That, and people keep calling into the police dispatch trying to frantically explain that they saw a dead woman. There's a guy who's like, I saw a dead woman at a pizzeria, I swear. So the police decide to bring her, the town ghost, in, the victim, the suspect, we don't know, okay? All we know is that Sherry is not that hard to find. She's not deep in hiding. She's just like there all the time. And she tells the police, it's the Albanians.
See, that's the entitlement, right? That's the entitlement of a lot of these women, where they never think about consequences. They don't think about consequences.
And the police are like, what? The Albanians are after me. The Albanian mafia want to kill me. What? Okay, so the first person that Sherry points them to is a man named Shakir. He's the one that did this. He's after Sherry. So the police go after him and they also arrest Shakir. The investigators, they start putting the pieces together. They quickly arrest Sherry and Shakir, but they still need to figure out who the body in the car is. They cross-reference with missing persons alerts in the neighboring areas, not just this town, but all the surrounding towns, and they identify the body to belong to Khadija. And I'm only saying first names because German privacy laws identify each person as just their first name and last name's first initial. So it's like Sherbin K. Once authorities figure out that the woman in the car is Khadija, they can actually start getting somewhere. They go through Khadija's phone, they go through Sherry's phone, and they find a series of odd DMs on Instagram. The first one reads, "Hey love, would you like to take part in a music video? You have very good charisma and you will be paid very well. You don't have to do much. I would be happy if you would get in touch. Best wishes." And it's like a random account that has no followers. That account belongs to Sherbin K, Sherry. Just reaching out to Khadija for a job to be part of a music video. Khadija is like, "Hey, I'd be up for it, but I guess it depends on the genre of music and where it is." It's a well-known artist, and you probably know them too. Okay, what's their name? Maybe I know her. And where would the shoot be located? The shoot would be in Offenburg. You definitely know her, but this would all have to be kept secret until the song is released. They tell Khadija the name of the singer, and it's a pretty big artist named Loon. So Loon has over 1 million fans on Spotify, almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, and Khadija thinks it's a secret project, so I can't tweet about it. But like I could DM Loon and ask Loon directly. And the police find all of this on Khadijah's phone. And she's like, "I hope you can give me an answer because I'm very, very unsure. A woman messaged me saying I'm filming a music video, supposedly for you. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's fake or not. I don't want to go there and then something happens."
Ich hoffe, du siehst es und kannst mir eine Antwort geben, weil ich bin sehr, sehr unsicher. Eine Frau hat mich angeschrieben, zwecks einem Videodreh, angeblich von dir. Und jetzt, ich weiß nicht, ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob das fake ist. Nicht, dass ich da hinfahre und dann passiert irgendwas.
Loon responds to her, "Fake sister, don't go."
Wow.
And she responds, "Oh, okay, thank you." So Khadija ignores the music video request DM, but then another one comes in from another account. This DM reads, "Hey, good evening. We are looking for girls to test our new lasers. Would you like to collaborate? We offer permanent hair removal with the world's fastest and most effective laser, 100% pain-free. If you're interested in permanent hair removal, you can contact me at any time. We work with a state-of-the-art medical-grade laser that costs $2,500 per session." So they're saying, if you come to the salon and you get this laser treatment done and you just post about it, it's a free laser treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is Khadija lives 100 miles away from the salon, because they give her the address to the salon.
What, is it their home salon or?
It's Rowan's barbershop.
Wow.
And it's a 3-hour trip. So the salon manager is like, "Well, you know, I can pick you up from your house and then drop you off at the salon, do the salon laser for you, and then drop you back off at your house." All the DMs lead straight back to Sherry. August 17th, 2022, Sherry and Shakir get into the car together. They drive and they pick up Khadija, and on the way to the salon, it's getting dark, the sun is setting. In between Khadijah's house and the salon, there's like this very long stretch of woods. It's like a forest. Sherry pulls over, pretending to be lost, and she asks Khadija to get out of the car to read the road sign. And that's when Sherry and Shakir both jump out. Shakir jumps on top of Khadija and starts stabbing her. They put Khadija back into the backseat of the car, drive all the way back into town, park Sherry's car on a residential road between Sherry's parents' house and her ex-husband Rowan's house, and then they leave. Sherry and Shakir leave, but they don't flee. They don't skip town. They just kind of linger around until they're both arrested. Why don't they leave town? What's their plan? Who the hell is Shakir? And what the hell does he have to do with any of this? And why does he partake in this murder? Weeks before Khadija is killed, Sherry is going around being what one can only assume is the world's most insufferable pick-me. She's going to the bars in town, getting drunk, leaning in close to all the guys that she's friends with, acquaintances with, random dudes. "Would you kill for me?" She keeps asking them. Some of the guys think it's a great way to try and impress her and not go home alone. So they're like,
This is a theory. I've said this theory so many times, and videos like this proves that I'm right. Right. So I said this a few times where you know how statistics show that men violence is majority of violence, right? Majority of violence is committed by men, right? That statistics show that majority of violence is committed by men. But I have a theory where if you dig into these statistics, right, a lot of these men would say that, you know, they did this for a woman, right? They did it for a woman. What I honestly believe that it kind of could prove, right? I could create a theory where women are more violent, but they women to get around this whole violent moniker is that they point men as a gun, right? They point men as a gun and they point it at other men. So in this case, here's the thing where here's this woman wanting to kill another woman, but she won't do it. She won't dirty her own hands, right? She won't dirty her own hands because she is not going to point that gun. She's going to use another man. She's going to use a man to do her dirty work for her. And that's how I believe a lot of women do it. We see this plenty of times where let's say if a man like disrespects a woman, right? This woman is like, I'm gonna get my brother on you. I'm gonna get my father on you. I'm gonna get my husband, my boyfriend, my uncle, my cousin, my friends on you. And that's what a lot of women do. They will point a man, right, like a gun at someone else. That's how women are more violent, right? Because men are essentially just a gun. Men are the weapon that women are using, okay? But in this case, we put the blame on the weapon. We don't put the blame on the user, right? The one who hold that gun. We don't put the blame on the one who hold that gun. We put the blame on the gun itself. And that's kind of my theory, where I believe a lot of women are more violent than stats show, right? I believe women are more violent than stats show. But because that the gun is a man, well, it's easier to just point that out. That statistics will never reach the day of light. That is fact. I mean, that's the thing, right? What I say people won't study it. People won't understand that nuance. People won't talk about it. No study's going about it. But that's the thing, right? Because why do I want to make this distinction? Because here's the thing. We constantly make out men are violent. Men are terrible. Men are abusive. Men are violent, right? Men have more of a violent nature. But I'm sorry. I think men are not as violent as they seem to be. I just believe that women are more violent. But how they go about it is they use men like the gun, right? They point men as the gun, and they usually point, one terrible man, which he does a lot of violence, right? Multiple times. That's how I see it.
Of course I would. I would do anything for you. But they don't mean it. She knows they don't mean it. Other guys are put off. Some of them are straight up looking at Cherry and going, why would someone die for you? She says things like, I can be free forever and stay with you all the time. For most people, most normal, sane people, Sherry's reasoning that she can be free, stay with them all the time, intimate relation, it's not worth killing someone for. Except apparently Shakir. That's what the prosecutors are arguing.
Arguing what?
Shakir meets Sherry a few weeks before the murder. And she's like, would you kill for me?
Oh.
And we can be together. And he just does it.
So that's why they're saying that's his motive.
Yes.
He killed for her.
Yeah. But none of these even make sense. Nobody even has an answer for why Sherry and Shakir killed Khadijah. None of it makes sense. When you're building something from the ground up, starting your dream business, I feel like the to-do list never really gets shorter. It just her is if they know for certain she's not coming back. There needs to be a body, and that person needs to look like Sherry, which is why weeks leading up to Khadijah's murder, prosecutors find in Sherry's phone, she's got multiple Instagram accounts. She's DMing everyone that looks similar, even remotely similar to her, asking if they want a free laser treatment as long as they post an exchange on Instagram. Khadijah agrees. Sherry picks her up, has her killed, and places Khadijah's body in her own car on a street that her parents are likely going to go down looking for her. They're going to find her body. They're going to think it's Sherry because Khadijah's face was so violently disfigured, and everyone's just going to assume it's Sherry because, who else would it be? And then Sherry would move on. What did Shakir get out of it? Probably intimate relations, love, who knows? The prosecutors are a little constantly wishy-washy about what Shakir gets out of it, but more on that later. The problem with the doppelganger theory, though, and there's a lot. The first one being, Sherry has 4 criminal defense attorneys. 2 of them are court-appointed, the other 2 her parents are paying for, and her attorneys argue that everyone is being racist by stating that they too look alike and that Sherry sought out a doppelganger just by the fact that all of them have dark hair and are of Iraqi descent does not make them doppelgangers. So they're saying if they're not doppelgangers, then this whole prosecutor theory of the doppelganger murder falls apart if they're not doppelgangers. And so this becomes a whole thing during the trial where everyone's like, are they doppelgangers or not? And the judges are like, it doesn't matter if they're not doppelgangers because everyone in the room can tell that Khadijah is exponentially more beautiful than Sherry will ever be, which also depicts a level of self-awareness in Sherry herself, right? But they're saying it doesn't matter if they're doppelgangers, as long as Sherry believed that they could be.
Yeah, exactly.
The attorneys are arguing, but that means if they're not doppelgangers, Sherry is not faking her own death with Khadijah's body.
That's what an argument.
The prosecutors, though, still have to prove that Sherry has motive for this theory, that she desperately needs to get away from her family, and she thinks that she's crazy enough that she thinks this will work. Sherry is evaluated by a psychiatrist, and she spends 4 days with the psychiatrist. She comes out with no strong diagnosis, no sign of a disorder, not that that would absolve any guilt. However, she's mentally there. She's fit to stand trial. The psychiatrist testifies in court that she does have a tendency towards conflict. She's extremely impulsive, manipulative. She believes manipulation is the best way to get what she wants. And most importantly, a part that the defense latches onto.
I believe a lot of women believe manipulate. This is the thing where manipulation is women's violence, right? I believe manipulation is women's way of violence, right? Men have their fists. Men have their fists. Guess what women have? Women have, women have manipulation, how they can manipulate you through your emotions. That's how women go about it. That's how women are able to manipulate you, through your emotions, right? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about it. That's what women do. And it's a good thing to understand. That's women's fists, manipulation. And I believe but we don't recognize it. And because we don't recognize it, we don't understand how a lot of times women get away with a lot of things. Okay. Again, we paint a picture that men are so violent, men are terrible. But again, because we recognize violence as an issue, right? We recognize violence as an issue. We recognize men as the issue. But if we actually understand that manipulation is an issue, we would change our mind at how, maybe men are not as big of an issue comparative to women.
Right, the defense is like, the prosecutors say this is a doppelganger murder.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why it's not. During Sherry's psychiatric evaluation, it is confirmed that her IQ stands at around 86, which they describe as, quote, just shy of a learning disability in Germany. Anything below 85 is indicative of a learning disability in Germany.
Come on, let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. Being smart, I don't think is the biggest issue, because let me be honest, right? One, men are stupid, right? When it comes to, let's say, a beautiful woman, men are stupid. Men are extremely stupid. I'm sorry. And she picked an extremely stupid man. How? Because all he thought about is sex. I've said this countless times before. Men's biggest weakness is women and lust. Men's biggest weakness is women and lust. Okay? Guess who controls that? Women. Okay? So honestly, all you need is just a stupid enough man, right? And you're a woman and you control his lust. That's it. That's all you need. So you don't need to be like a James Bond villain to really get shit done. You're a woman. You control men's lusts. You found a stupid enough man. You're able to manipulate him. All right? I've said this where if men can control their lusts, men will be so much more dangerous. And dangerous, not in a violent sense, dangerous, and no one is manipulating you. Nobody, right? Nobody can manipulate you if no one can control your weakness. That's something that people don't understand, right? That's my word of wisdom to you. If you can control your weakness, right? Your lust and the weakness to women, nobody can manipulate you.
So the defense are like, she's too dumb. Yeah, exactly. So by this point, okay, just to fill you in, Khadijah is found in Sherry's car. Very quickly, Sherry and Shakir are arrested. And everyone in the news becomes obsessed with this case. Everyone in Germany becomes obsessed with this case. It goes to trial, and it's actually one of the longest criminal trials in recent German history, especially in this area, because there's over 100 witnesses brought in. And the confusing part is, it seems like the prosecutors kind of drift between theories of what they think happened. And everyone's just trying to figure out what the hell happened. And the two defendants, Sherry and Shakir, Sherry's always lying. Anytime she opens her mouth, you can assume she's lying. She does testify, but nobody believes her. Shakir, dead silent, won't say a single word. So everyone's like, why would you guys do this to a random girl that you don't even know? Mm-hmm. And the only connection is you were looking for people who looked like you, and you think that she looked like you. That's really the only connection. Right, other than all the physical evidence, right?
There's no clear motive
exactly
why they're committing the crime.
And so every motive that the prosecutors bring about, the defense are just trying to poke holes of like, well, she's too dumb. She's too dumb to carry something like this out. So the defense are like, she barely has a...
It's like, seriously. I swear to God. I mean, like, unless she's a straight up retard, you don't need to be that smart, right? I mean, like, I swear to God, it's like, and her plan isn't like, world domination. Her plan is find a woman that looks like her, kill her. That is it. It's not rocket science. She's not building like a spaceship. Like, it doesn't matter how, I mean, like, again, the only way you be so dumb is like you're literally retarded, right? literally retarded. It's like hands, can't move, like extreme retard. But other than that, you don't need to be like a nuclear scientist to, do her supposed plan. It shows, right, the insanity of how these people go about these cases, right? It's like, are you kidding me? Sorry, but I was going to say, like, the great example of this, Troy, if you watch the movie, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's again, you don't need a degree to manipulate men, and you don't need a degree to, you know what? You want to kill someone, you kill someone.
Brain, okay? That's what the defense is arguing, which the prosecutors, they start arguing back. We never said she was smart. If she was very, very smart, perhaps she would have realized how horrendous this plan is. But nevertheless, the prosecutors argue the motive is there. Forget intelligence for a second. Sherry has motive. Her life is falling apart. She wants to get away, so she wants someone to take her place for her death. She wants to be dead to her family. The prosecutors bring in about 100 witnesses that testify about Sherry and Shakir, and one of the most important witnesses on that list, he went into hiding before the trial because he was terrified of sitting up on the stand. He thought someone was going to kill him to keep him quiet, is the ex-husband, Rowan.
Who is he scared of to kill him?
Because remember, Sherry's dad was like, 3 people are going to...
Oh, the dad. That's right.
So he comes in, he sits on the stand, and he starts testifying about his relationship, his marriage with Sherry, and it's not looking good. Multiple witnesses by this point have already testified that Sherry is known as a gas station groupie. It's like a thing when you live in the suburbs in a lot of places, including Germany, where you have nowhere to hang out. People just like loiter in gas stations, in the parking lots. They come in, rev their engine, they pump gas, and then they park near the gas station. They get a Slurpee and a beer, and then they sit in their driver's seat, rev their engine some more, and then hang out.
So she likes to talk to guys at the gas station.
You can't even pay me to stay in a gas station for 2 seconds longer than I actually have to.
Yeah.
All the guys with their loud cars, they like to sit there, and Sherry will show up in her Mercedes, and one German reporter describes them like this, and I don't know what this means. They live in the suburbs, but they like to feel as if they're living in New York City in the Bronx.
Okay.
Like they think they're cool.
Right. Like, okay, yeah. I can see the visual. Okay,
it's almost as if this Mercedes also changed Sherry. Rowan is testifying like she has an obsession with this car. She loved this lifestyle, beautiful cars, fast driving, easy money. That's a quote. She's, helping move drugs, and it's very important for her, quote, to drive up and down the famous roads in Munich, listening to loud music and attracting attention. It's like the people that drive circles on Rodeo Drive, and you're like, well, I've seen you 20 times, okay? And he says the beginning of their marriage started out pretty normal. Eventually, Rowan starts noticing this very obvious pattern. Quote, she was always looking for arguments with me, just so she could storm out in anger. She'd be like, fine, I'm done with you. I'm not doing this anymore. Run out the house and be gone for 3 days. And she would block his number. I mean, he can't even ask where she is, who she's with, and he can see right through it. It's not like a real fight. Like, she's doing this so that she can go be a gas station groupie. And she'll go out with a bunch of guys each time. They're reportedly all in like a criminal world. If he tries to talk to her about it, it's just another way for her to start another fight that lasts 3 days so she can go out and loiter at gas stations. And that's how she ends up pregnant with some other man's child at 20, and she ends up terminating the pregnancy. Rowan tells her he's fed up with her, and he tells her, I'm going to talk to your parents. I've already called your dad. She turns around, and this is in their apartment. She hits him on the back of the head. Ooh. She starts throwing things out of the cabinets. She grabs a bar of soap and is like whacking him with a bar of soap. He flees to the bathroom, and quote, she slams my head onto the mirror. Everything goes black. I start feeling dizzy. So then when he wakes up, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I got to pack my...
We recently said this in the last stream, right? Abusiveness of women. I swear, this is why I do these videos, right? This is why I want to check out these videos. I'm glad I'm doing this live, because this is the thing. It shows you. Stop thinking that, just because you're a man, you're abusive. That is BS, right? That is BS. Okay? This right here breaks that narrative. You see how abusive that woman is? How dangerous? How violent and abusive she is? She's extremely toxic. But we don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about the abuse men receive. I believe that if we actually do a nationwide study, we would actually see that men get abused by women quite a lot, right? Men get abused by women quite a lot. What? That's not surprising. I do see that a lot, about what community. Again, the abuse is real there and all that shit, right? The criminality, all this thing. Yeah.
Bags, I'm gonna go stay with my brother. He gets into the car and he starts having an epileptic seizure. The police get called out. There's footage of this. The police getting called out, him having a seizure in the car. And he says that because of this marriage, because of Sherry's violence, he had his jaw dislocated. He lost 30% of his vision in the right eye. These are all documented violent altercations. February 2018, she's convicted of aggravated assault for tasing her brother-in-law in the neck, Rowan's brother. October 2021, she tried to run her husband over with her car. November 2021, she assaulted her husband with a bar of soap and smashed his face into a mirror. There's a protection order prohibiting her from even approaching her ex-husband. By this point, a few weeks leading up to Khadijah's murder, Rowan says the families have facilitated at least 3 peace meetings. So in Yazidi religion, marital disputes are resolved through community mediation. I imagine like this is when the marital disputes become irreconcilable. Okay, side note, divorce and separation are a huge thing in Yazidi culture. Yazidism is a closed religion, so you can only be born Yazidi and you must marry another Yazidi, or else if you marry someone that's not Yazidi, you get excommunicated. Some communities have loosened up the rules a little bit to say that you're no longer excommunicated by your loved ones, but it really depends. It seems as if divorce is not unheard of. It's not encouraged, but more people are open to divorce. However, if after divorce you marry someone that is not Yazidi, that could lead to excommunication. So these peace meetings, it's like when you're about to have a divorce, all the male elders from both families will have meetings and try to talk to the couple to figure out how they can resolve their marital dispute. They have 3 mediation sessions. The first 2, Rowan's like, I'm not going to do this. Okay, your daughter is like practically certified insane. And they just keep telling him how much she loves him, how much he means to her and all this nonsense. And Rowan is still trying to save Sherry's face, but he wants a divorce. And finally, at the 3rd mediation, he's like, I know what I need to say. I just need to tell the truth. He says, if a husband says, your daughter has been cheating on me, then typically the father of the wife will tell the husband, okay, like you decide what you want to do now. And he's like, I want a divorce. And that's the last time he saw Sherry. She moved out, moved back in with her parents. And that was a huge problem for Sherry. A lot of Sherry's friends were called in to testify by the prosecutors because the prosecutors are like, the doppelganger theory. Remember, she needs to get away from her parents. Her friends are sitting on the stand and a lot of German reporters are like, this is the most insane trial that we've ever covered in our lives. These little gas station groupies are cursing at the defense attorneys, are cursing at the prosecutors.
Oh, you mean all her friends are also gas station groupies?
Yeah, and all of them are sitting, like some German reporter was like, I've never seen someone sit with their legs as wide open, you know, like guys like to pretend like their ding dong is so massive that they can't even.
Oh, you're saying that some of the guys are sitting with their legs are like reaching as far as they can.
Yeah, in a court setting is just inappropriate. But also, I think it's like.
Interesting.
At that point, they're like doing splits.
So these people are out here supporting Sherry.
No, they're just being called in to testify and they just like snap at everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
So Sherry is complaining to her friends. Her friends are testifying like, yeah, I saw her after the divorce and she's complaining that her dad would only let her leave the house for 20 minutes every single day. So she goes from living with Rowan, being able to go out for 3 days at a time, be a gas station groupie.
Yeah.
And what's Rowan going to do about it? Nothing. But now that she's back with her very strict religious parents, after a divorce, they're in full control. They're not letting her out of the house. They're not letting her be a gas station groupie. They're controlling everything that she does. And she's sick of it. One witness said, I saw her in the middle of the road. She was like parked on the side of the road. All of her car doors were open. The trunk was open. So I was like, is she looking for something? I thought maybe her car broke down. So I pulled over and I'm like, do you need help, Sherry? Like, did something happen to your car? And she dramatically pulls something out. And there's a little tracker in her fingers. And she just tells me, my father, that son of a bitch. I guess she found a tracker in her car and her dad is tracking her. So the prosecutors are like, look, she has every reason to want to get away from her family and she can't. Then the prosecutors bring in Rowan's brother. Oh. Yeah, where, you know,
she actually could. This is the thing where, I mean, okay, I'm going to caveat it, right? If it's not like the why I say she could, right? And maybe she can't if they're somehow just locking her up, but like she could walk. She's literally saying she's walking outside the house. So she probably could. Okay. But the problem is that she can't support herself. That's the thing. So she's living under her parents' roof, probably getting, money from her thanks to her parents. So that's why I said she could, but she can't because she's fucking lazy. She's incompetent. She's useless as a human being. She's useless. So she can't make her own living. So no duh, she's staying with her parents. And if you're living under your parents' roof, are you surprised that your parents control the shit?
The bizarre incident where she uses a taser to get him in the neck. The brother-in-law testifies, she showed up to my house. I didn't even know her really at the time. I didn't even know who she was. She introduced herself to me as a friend of my brother. She was completely distraught. She was crying, claimed that Rowan was stealing and using drugs. And then she suddenly tased me in the back of the neck with a taser.
That's their first time meeting?
Yeah.
What in the world?
And then she ran down the stairs. Then she comes back up the stairs. He doesn't even chase after her because he's like on the ground, tased. She comes back up the stairs and said, I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. Please don't tell anybody. And starts profusely apologizing.
And he called the...
He said, I naturally went to the hospital and filed a police report. And he says, and then they got married, and then I met her uncles. The entire family is weird. They're weird. They also hated me, the brother. They just hated me. You know, one of Sherry's uncles said about Rowan's brother, we have a plan for him. Whatever that means. Yeah, they just keep saying weird things. And Sherry blames the brother-in-law, stating, he made my life a living hell for Rowan and me. He was the one who persuaded my husband to force me to terminate my pregnancy. So Sherry is claiming that she was pregnant with Rowan's baby, and Rowan was like, that was definitely not my baby, trust me. And Sherry is like, well, your brother was the one that convinced you to convince me to terminate the pregnancy. I mean, both Rowan and his brother are like, that's definitely not true, okay? Now, Rowan's brother testifies, and then the prosecutors then bring in another guy. His name is Vulcan. He gets up on the stand, and he tells the judges, I'm the guy that Sherry paid to kill her brother-in-law, Rowan's brother. And everyone's like, what the hell is happening? He's like, that wasn't the original money-making plan, first of all, okay? So when I met Sherry, originally we were gonna go into business together to open up a COVID testing center. Because like, remember back then, you used to have to go to a testing center. They shove like a 3-foot-long Q-tip up your brain, like you're getting lobotomized. And then they wanted to do that. But instead, Sherry starts talking about perhaps before they do that, maybe you could kill someone first. And Vulcan is like, I should start going along with it. And the prosecutors are like, why are you going along with it? And they said, I don't know, she just seemed kind of dumb. And she had money, so he's like, I was going along with it.
No, see, this is why I don't know. I give women more credit than maybe they deserve, but I don't think women are that stupid, right? They know that men's weakness, right? They know men's weakness. So this is why a lot of women choose the men they choose, right? Because they know that this man, right, either a dirtbag or whatever, a bad boy, they know that they can control these men with their they know that these men, their weakness is women. So this is why these men are the easiest to control. Now, you may control them to a certain extent, but the problem is that these men are also, their weakness is women. Okay? So it's like using their weakness against them is also the worst thing about these men, because these men their weakness will always be women. So all the women will always get in the way as well. So that's the insanity of it.
Sherry offers him $10,000. Kill Rowan's brother. I'll give you 5,000 euros in advance. Sherry thinks that her brother-in-law is the reason that Rowan even wants to get a divorce right now. So, you know, once he's gone, Rowan's going to be obsessed with her again. He's the one that supports this separation, so it must be his problem. The two of them, Vulcan and Sherry, they put together their approximately 7 brain cells. They come up with this masterful plan. The plan is he's going to kidnap Rowan's brother, administer date rape pills to him, change him into swim trunks, throw him into Lake Starnberg so that his death would appear to be a drowning. She tells Vulcan, all I need is photos to prove that you did murder him, and you'll get 10,000 euros. 5,000 euros in advance right now. And if successful, quote, this day will be more beautiful than any other day on earth. She also sends him an 18-minute voice message where she's enthusiastically screaming, no mercy, no mercy. Make sure you shove the pills deep in his throat.
They played all that?
Yeah, in the trial. Obviously, the testimony from Vulcan and the corresponding evidence is damning to say the least, but her attorney tries to spin it. Her attorney says, according to my client's own statement, this specific allegation of wrongdoing presents itself in a completely different light. The claim is that a man proactively approached her, not the other way around, and allegedly offered to kill her brother-in-law. That raises a distinct set of questions, entirely independent of whether she genuinely desired the act or took the offer seriously, or whether she might have subsequently withdrawn from the plan. They said a whole lot of nothing, but they're basically trying to be like, maybe she was testing him to see if he would do it. She did give him the 5,000 euros. She did. And Vulcan argues in court that he just did it to get some easy money. You know, she has money and she's also a bit stupid. That's a direct quote. He testifies that at the trial. But the interesting thing is, like, the prosecutor's like, thank you so much for testifying. So you're actually arrested for fraud. Because regardless, you took money and did not deliver a service.
You took money and you didn't kill someone?
Yes.
That's a fraud?
Yes. So they arrest him for fraud.
You're kidding me.
They also charge him with tax evasion, which is apparently a very German thing. Like, they take tax evasion more seriously than the Americans.
That's crazy. That's considered a fraud?
Yeah. Maybe he tried to get a lower deal eventually, but he was,
I can't believe he got arrested for not providing a service. Insane. The guy he got arrested for not killing someone. Wow. Germany is interesting.
He got sentenced to, he had his own separate trial. The fake hitman had his own little separate trial, and he was found guilty and imprisoned for a year. Because,
wait, how is that? I don't understand.
Yeah. Wow. It's probably something in their code, like their legislation.
Okay. You think it will happen in America too? I cannot imagine this being fraud though.
We have very specific laws for conspiracy to commit murder, maybe they don't have like specific laws, so this is the one that fits the best.
But what I'm saying is, let's say he never intended to kill and he still took the money. He's like, I'm just here to scam someone.
That's fraud. I think that's why maybe they charged him with fraud, because he's not like trying to kill. So he's just a con man.
Okay, this is weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's all very strange. But they get him for fraud and tax evasion because he didn't pay taxes on the 5,000 euros he got in cash. And as if this case can't get even more confusing, the main prosecutor theory is that this is a doppelganger murder. And that's actually what it's known for just when it goes viral on a global scale. But that also kind of has its plot holes because it's an escape where nobody flees. If she got someone to be a doppelganger, killed them so that she could flee.
Right.
She doesn't flee. Sherry is literally arrested driving around leisurely through town. That's how the arresting officer describes her demeanor. If she killed Khadijah to take her place as a dead body...
See, that's the stupidity part, right? Yeah, so yes, she's an idiot, right? She's borderline retarded, but borderline, okay? It's true that the prosecutor literally said, we don't claim that she was smart. She is stupid. She's actually very stupid. And the crime really shows you how stupid she is.
Would she not skip town and start a new life? She doesn't do that. So then some people argue it's because she was waiting for Rowan to get arrested. She's not trying to die and disappear and start a new life. She wanted the police to arrest Rowan for her murder and then she would leave. She was gone girling him. But that also necessarily doesn't make sense because there's no indication that she was tracking Rowan, tracking the investigation. She was genuinely just hanging out. By the way, she also went back to her gas station groupies after she was dead. And they're like, aren't you supposed to be dead? And she's like, I'm in some shit. Some people are after me. They're trying to frame me. Anyway.
Yeah, this is, wow.
It just doesn't make any sense, which then leads to a black magic theory. And this was a theory that was heavily debated in court. Eventually, the court denies it. A lot of the black magic theory comes from humans doing what they do best and kind of just being idiots. So in Sherry's car, when police search it, they find two things. Two small pieces of paper folded together, one into a triangle and then another one into a square and then taped together with scotch tape and then wrapped in foil. When they're unfolded, people discover writing on them that nobody can decipher. And one of them has a picture of Sherry and her ex-husband Rowan taped to the back, but the words, no one can decipher the words. So this theory comes about that Sherry killed Khadijah as a human sacrifice so that Rowan would come back to her. That's why she doesn't flee or escape town, she stays. When they ask about this paper, Sherry's like, I've never seen that before ever in my life, which is refuted by the fact that her fingerprints are found inside. Like after you unfold the scotch tape and the foil, it's like inside. Then there were news reports that Sherry had been online searching specifically for a magician. So all of this is coming together until they're able to find out who wrote this undecipherable words on the paper. It's a religious leader in the Yazidi faith. They're called sheikhs. She's looking online for a religious leader, but the way that they translate it is like she's looking online for a magician. Because the word they use to describe their religious leaders in Yazidi sounds like magician.
Okay.
So they're like, she was looking for a magician, dark magic. So then she finds one and the prosecutors find him. They bring him to court. They're like, tell us about this black magic that you're doing. And they're just basically talismans. So, you know, in religion, when you want to be blessed or you are looking for specific things in your life, religious leaders in certain religions will write talismans for you, you know, on pieces of paper. But the whole questioning gets weird because he's illiterate. So he wrote it, but he can't tell anyone what it means.
There's no meaning. It's just a bunch of scribbles.
Yeah, and like the prosecutors don't believe that. So they're like, no, it's black magic. Just tell us it's black magic. And then he's like, no, actually, I'm genuinely illiterate. And they're like, no, we don't believe you. And then they make him try to read it. It was just like a whole thing. And then he was like, it was revealed to me in my dream. So that's why I wrote it.
What is going on?
The judges ultimately rejected the theory of a human sacrifice, which means why the hell did Sherry and Shakir kill Khadijah? Maybe instead of focusing on Sherry, the answer lies with Shakir. Because nobody can figure out what he has to do with any of this. Most people believe he is the one that physically carried out the killing and stabbed Khadijah. Medical examiners say that it could have been a man, it could have been a woman based off of the stab wounds, but it's really important. So in Germany, for murder, you get a life sentence, but you're eligible for parole after 15 years. Unless there's special circumstances, and stabbing someone 56 times is a special circumstance, which means that you would be eligible for parole after 25 years. So Sherry and Shakir's attorneys are like, no, she's the one that stabbed her. And then they're like, no, he's the one that stabbed her. And everyone's just trying to figure out. And it's just, I don't really think it matters. Throw both of them in for it. Khadijah's dad says, in court, I faced my daughter's killers. I was only 10 feet apart from them. What do you want to say to Shakir? I want to eat him alive. I want to devour him whole. There are text messages between Shakir and Sherry, and the day before Khadijah is killed, Sherry is messaging Shakir things like, tomorrow is going to be wild. There's going to be a lot to do tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. This is the night before the murder. After killing Khadijah, they both head back to Shakir's place. There's no evidence that either of them are romantically involved afterwards, but they part ways, and both of them are kind of on the run, kind of not on the run. They both stop by the gas station. Shakir goes to the gas station too to hang out with his friends. He's got scratch wounds on his arms. And he even tells a friend, I killed an innocent girl for this whore. They're like, who's the whore? Who's the girl you killed? He doesn't clarify. The brass knuckles are found in Shakir's apartment. His DNA is found on Khadijah. The prosecutors, they just keep going back and forth on what Shakir's motive to help Sherry was. I mean, this is a girl that he's only known for a few weeks. Why would he kill Khadijah for her? So sometimes the prosecutors think that it's sex. Sometimes it's money. There's no evidence that money was transferred, but maybe it could be the promise of money. Shakir is silent the entire trial. He does not testify. He never gives a defense. He never tells them, no, this is what happened. Sherry, on the other hand, she gets up on the stand and she says, let me tell you the day of the murder. My original plan was to just meet with Shakir, but he requests that I bring a can of gasoline with me. So she does. She meets up with him, he takes her phone, and then he guides her to a strange address. She's the one driving. He tells her to park the car, she does, and then a girl walks up to the car, approaches the car, and just based off the energy, it seems like the girl and Shakir know each other. Girl gets into the seat, Shakir moves to the back, and Sherry's in the driving seat, and Shakir is telling Sherry where to drive. They start driving into the forest, but out of nowhere, Shakir's like, pull over, I need a smoke. She pulls over in the forest. He goes, takes a pee. Everybody gets out so they can smoke a cigarette. Once Sherry's done, she walks back to the car to get in, but then she hears a scream. Hey! She whips around and she sees Shakir just pummeling the girl Khadijah in the face with brass knuckles. Quote, he had brass knuckles in his hand and was hitting her on the head, right on the right side. I think it was against her eyes and forehead. When I saw that, I was shocked. I fell to my knees. I screamed. I was paralyzed for a moment. I couldn't breathe. I saw him continue hitting her head. So I ran over to them and with all my strength, I pushed him away from her and I yelled at him to stop. She was gasping and whimpering. He grabbed my arm, dragged me to the side, and when I looked up at him, I saw his face, his anger, and the way he yelled at me, and I got scared. I thought, now it's my turn. He's gonna come after me. I took a few steps backward, turned around, covered my ears. He grabbed my arm, pulled me towards the car and threw me inside. And then I turned around and she's in the driver's side now. She turns around and Khadijah is in the back somehow, lying there. He dragged her into the car. Shakir gets into the passenger seat and Sherry says he threatened to kill my family if I didn't stay in the car. He wanted me to keep driving. But because my legs were shaking so bad, he had to hold my knee steady as I pressed on the accelerator. He is screaming at me, drive now. Then they get to the road and at some point he tells her to pull over on a supermarket, like parking lot. He tells her to get out of the car. She gets out the car. And then she hears screaming inside the car and he's just stabbing Khadijah in the back seat, which the police are like, actually the evidence shows that Khadijah was stabbed in the forest. But anyways, she says, I was frozen. I fell. I lay on the floor. I covered my ears. I didn't dare look. And then I looked toward the car and I could see the two of them. It was like they were fighting. She was screaming inside the car. Eventually everything was covered in blood. He walked around the car, threw the knife across the street. He put on a fresh t-shirt, pushed me back into the car, took Rowan's jacket out of my trunk, covered Khadijah with it. He gets in, orders me to keep driving. He had in his hand a new knife. I steered the car back onto the road. He pressed down on my leg again because I didn't have the strength. And then at the end of all of this, she looks at Khadijah's dad in court. I can't get the images of what he did out of my head.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
She spoke with confidence?
Yeah. A lot of people said it was terrifying because she was just emotionless the whole time in a very creepy way. And a lot of people testify about Shakir and they say that he's actually a harmless guy, which, I mean, I don't know what people's perception of someone can even hold up in court. His ex-girlfriends testify like he's never had any rage or anger towards women. I don't know what any of that means, but something is definitely odd with Shakir. An inmate says that he was given a list of 13 people from Shakir and he was told that he would get paid per witness that is killed.
Who's paying who?
Shakir is like, here's a list, and he gives it to his cellmate. And he's like, for each person that is killed before the trial, I'll give you money. That's what the inmate claims.
So he wants this inmate to pull some strings to kill some witnesses outside.
Yes. Now, Shakir's attorney is like, that's not true at all. The prison guards, they search the cell and they find a list of witnesses and their addresses with plus or minus signs next to them. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a hit list, but it is there.
What does plus or minus mean?
No one knows. Whether it could be they're going to say something positive or negative about me, or I want them dead or I want them alive. Nobody knows. And just when everyone thinks that this trial is going to wrap up, most people can't even make sense of the theory. I mean, maybe the doppelganger theory is the most relevant, and then they're just kind of dumb that they don't flee. I don't know. That's like the one that most people are going with. Everyone just thinks Sherry is dumb, but this is the theory that she thought. This is the motive that she originally had. Then they bring in, right as they're about to wrap, a man walks in to testify, and his name is Furkan. Some people call him Furfur. He's a local rapper. He says that he has a connection to all of them. He's like, I'm connected to Shakir and to Sherry and to the victim, Khadijah. He knows Shakir through a mutual friend, and he claims that he was dating Khadijah and he went back to Sherry's hotel with her. Let me explain. Furkan is an interesting character. Okay, so he mainly stakes a claim at the local club. He's not a gas station groupie, he's a club groupie, and he is described by people who know him as, quote, Furkan is trying to break into the rap scene. He's a big flashy guy with a 10-foot long cloud of perfume trailing behind him. That's pretty much what he's like. He's like, I'm here now, look at me, so everyone, I gotta be the center of attention. Well, recently, Sherry asked Furkan to go back to her hotel with her. And there was this whole incident. This is what Furkan is testifying. He went back to the hotel with Sherry. She had a hotel room. And she's just like trying to unbuckle his pants, is trying to kiss up on him. And he flat out rejects her. He's like, she was trying to pull down my boxer shorts and I pushed her away and I said, piss off, you slut. Okay? Whether this is true or not, it's up for you to believe. He thinks that maybe she was upset that he was in love with Khadijah.
What?
Yeah. So some people are like, either Sherry was rejected and was upset that he liked Khadijah, so she killed Khadijah. Or some people are like, well, maybe he told her to get rid of Khadijah and then they could be together. And that's why she killed Khadijah. Regardless, the day that the investigators went to go talk to Furkan, he had gotten rid of his phone, which is very suspicious. But they state there is no evidence to link Furkan to this crime. There's no investigation into him being part of anything. But it just leads people to wonder if there's a bigger reason to why Sherry specifically went after Khadijah. Was it because Khadijah was one of the only 26 people that responded and was willing to meet up? And is this a doppelganger murder? Or is this a murder out of jealousy? Like, what is it? And I think that's why this case goes so viral. I mean, I think obviously the whole doppelganger classification of this murder and what it's most commonly called, it has all the points that make people wonder what the real motive is. But also, it's just everything about Sherry's demeanor in trial for Germans was so odd. She'll come in covering her face every time with like a packet of folders and papers. And then every break that they get, her mom is just like supplying her with snacks every day. She's laughing and giggling with her family. A lot of German reporters believe that she was actually acting quite flirtatious with her 4 attorneys as well. She kept twirling her hair. But ultimately, both of them are found guilty, which again, for Sherry, that means 25 years before she's eligible for parole. And for Shakir, it's 15 years. Khadijah's dad is very upset with Shakir only getting 15 years. He was really distraught. He says, in the courtroom, I saw things I never expected to see, things that cannot be understood with the mind. But did I see the truth? No. Some netizens have taken to point out that Sherry was delusional, thinking Khadijah was a doppelganger because it's so obvious that they look nothing alike and that they don't even compare. But with that, that is the doppelganger murder. What are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments. And
it was interesting, right? But I mean, this video, it supports a lot of things what I said, right? How, again, this is why I create the head, the body, the head, right? Half of the whatnot. This is why it supports one of the things, right? Women are a heavy manipulator, right? You don't need to be that smart to honestly manipulate stupid men. You don't need to be that smart to manipulate stupid men. Plus, like I said, a lot of times, right? Women will aim men like a gun, like as a gun towards other men, right? Or even other women, okay? This is why I honestly believe the nuance, right? If you actually look into these cases, right? Where men actually kills or beat up or whatever, you will hear usually it's because of a woman. Usually a lot of men do a lot of things because of women. 100%. I said it, right? Men do stupid shit. It's usually because of money or women, right? And even with the money thing, it's usually because of women, right? You want money so you can get women. I believe it's always women. It's always women the source. I'm not saying I'm blaming women for it, but I'm saying that, you know, a lot of times we don't talk about how women will point men like a gun at other people. And if we do talk about that, we do actually dig into it, it might show you that women are more violent than what studies show. So that's my thing. Guys, that is it. That is it for today. I love you guys, right? Thank you guys for hanging out with me, right? Laughing Man, I love you, my brother. Thank you for being around. Thank you for chilling with me, all right? Alvi, if you're still here, I love you, my brother. Thank you for being here. Zyrax, thank you, my sister, for stopping by. I love you. I love you. Big Bars stopped by a little bit. I love you, my brother. Thank you for being here. Let's see. RPM, what is up? Thank you for stopping by. Justin, thank you for stopping by. Abyssal Lore, thank you for stopping by. Guys, I love you. All right, you guys are amazing. Thank you for the love. Thank you for all the support. DA, do you have this creator link at the bottom, or can you just tell me who is this? Does she? Oh, Rotten Mango, right? This is Rotten Mango. The creator is Rotten Mango. Okay. Yeah, right here. You see? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't show it. Rotten Mango. I like her stories, right? I do like her. Sometimes she does get, you know, her own point of views, which is whatever, right? Everyone has their own views. But sometimes I really like her stuff, right? She keeps it a little bit interesting, you know. So I like I like the things that she says. So Rotten Mango, please check her out. She's a big creator too. But so yeah, that is it for today. I love you guys. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. You guys are amazing. All right. See you guys later.